Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. It's Sunday. It's Warhammer Sunday times. Yes, hello, welcome, welcome. I'm having trouble with my chair and I'm not even started yet. Hang on. Adjustments being made. Hang on, hang on. Hello and welcome to Warhammer Sunday. Yes, welcome. That day of the week when I crack on with my Warhammer Conquest build to catch up and you guys hang out with me, and I need to clear my throat and I've not even got past the first minute mark. Hang on, let me turn the microphone off. There we go. Rather not cough down your ear holes, thank you. So welcome, welcome. If you've not seen one of these before, I am catching up on my Warhammer Conquest part work. I am subscribed thanks to my very good friend and patron George, who is your current stream boss, by the way. I'm subscribed to the part work, and each week I'm just taking time to get all the models built up so that later on this year I can start from scratch and do a complete painting series on painting all the models in the Warhammer Conquest part work. I've done some videos on it already, but I've given up trying to paint them like the magazine. They're going to be just stripped of all the paint and we'll start again from scratch and we'll paint everything properly. So welcome, welcome. We'll be cracking on today. As always, this is the typical one of my shows, so it's really just you guys hanging out in chat for 3 hours while I try and do some work. Probably won't get much done. So basically just hanging around in the chat, having a good time. I've got the chat here in front of me. You can see the iPad. Guthorm, as always, is watching the chat to look out for ne'er-do-wells. You getting better in shot there? There he is. There he is. There's Guthorm for you. Sit there, Guthorm. Good lad. Yeah, so it's you guys hanging in chat. If you want to get my attention, please feel free. I depend on you guys to give me things to talk about in chat. So put your comment in big fat capital letters, or if you want to, you can do a super chat, which is the little dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat window. That will put your comment in a big coloured box, so I can't possibly miss it, and it'll do a little noise and put an animation up here somewhere, and it'll look fantastic. And it'll also support this channel a little bit because I make a little bit of income off those. So if you want to try and help support the channel, give some super chats a go. Before we get going, as always, quick shout outs to the people who make this channel possible. First and foremost, my patrons who pay my wages. I do this for a living and my patrons support me and I love them to absolute bits. You can become a patron if you want, patreon.com/model making guru. There's a link there and I've just put a thing in the chat. If you want to help support this channel directly, you can become a patron. Also to Goblin Gaming, who are one of my affiliate sponsors. There's a link in the description below the video, and again I'll put it in the chat for you. Goblin Gaming, use the link in the description below or the link that's in the chat. Don't use the link that's don't use their just normal website links. If you use the link I've just pasted in the chat or the one that's below the video, that tells them that I sent you and I make a little bit of income. And of course, last of all, my actual official sponsors, emodels.co.uk. Again, address in the description below the video and in chat. Your one-stop shop for all your traditional model making needs. A big thanks to all those guys. As always, don't forget, we are still doing the Stream Boss Battle before we get going. This is purely a thing whereby you guys can build up a pot of community money, and one of you lucky people will win that, basically whatever money's in that pot, to spend at Games Workshop, Forge World or Goblin Gaming. George is the current Stream Boss. He won himself 480 quid that he spent at Games Workshop. It's nice. All you need to do is, if you want to, you can see his health bar there. He's got a little bit of blackness on the end. That's his health that's been removed. If you want to try and get his health down, whoever gets his health to 0 becomes the stream boss and wins that pot of money that you all build up as a community. If you want to get his health down, you just need to do a tip through the tip jar, which is down there, streamlabs.com/model making guru. Every time a tip goes through the tip jar, I don't get that money. That money sits in a pot, and whoever becomes a stream boss gets all that money. You can do anything from $1 onwards, as much or as little as you want. The trick is to put in as little as possible to the pot, but get as much out. That's the trick. Got a lot of health left. He's got millions of healths left yet, so there's ages to go, but get your tips going and get that pot built up. So anyway, yes, right. So today we are going to crack on with the Conquest, Warhammer Conquest. This week I am moving on to issue of Fortin Sixtenfarten. We are building our Death Guard reinforcements. We have a smattering of Plague Marines. We have a fetid bloat drone. So many people can't pronounce that. It's fetid bloat drone, not feated. Some people say feated or foated. They're usually idiots. It's fetid bloat drone. And we also have the Lord Contagion. We won't get all of that done today. We might get some of the Plague Marines built. I did finish off the Space Marine Scouts that I was working on last week. Oh, also, don't forget, I've tweaked the audio again. I've made some microphone changes and settings. So hopefully it sounds a bit better than it did last week and has done before up till now. So do let me know how it sounds. Hopefully it's okay. Hopefully it sounds good. I've made lots and lots of tweaks and changes over the last few days to the microphone setup for all my different streams. I've got different settings for different ones, so do let me know if it sounds okay. I'm using a limiter now, and limiters are awesome. Yeah, so we're going to see what we can get done today. I did do those Space Marine scouts that I was working on last week, and holy crap on a stick. I don't want to build those ever again. Oh, you warned me about the arms on those guys. Gee, yeah, no. I will never build Space Marine scouts ever again. Forget it. Not touching them again. What an absolute faff getting those arms to work. Holy crap. Anyway, yes. I thought Scions were a faff, but Scions are fine compared to that. At least Scions actually go together. Those guys. Oh, yeah, I did lots of swearing. So, yeah, won't ever be building Space Marine scouts ever again. Just so you know. So, yes, so today we're going to crack on with these. Don't know how many we'll get done, but we'll see how many. We'll probably get a couple of the Plague Marines done. They're not quite as faffy because they're the one-pose model, so we shall see how we get on. Let's have a quick look at chat and see who I have in. Now, I know Pascal was the first person because he was there when I was physically setting up the chat and the stream. So I know Pascal is in. The first comment I have, though, from earlier is Andy McLeish, because I missed the first couple of hours. So welcome, Andy McLeish. Nim is in. Welcome, Nim. I know they'll waddle themselves in eventually. I don't know what that's talking about. Moving on. Mordraka is in. Welcome, Mordraka. Cleaning off the metal shavings from the whetstone on the bastard sword. I said bastard, but it is a bastard sword. It's not swearing. It's actually a kind of sword. So just so you know, YouTube, there is a thing called a bastard sword. It's not swearing. By the way, don't forget, folks, this is my stream 100%. You can swear as much as you want in chat. I don't care. I don't care if you swear in chat or anything like that. I'm not going to read swear words out because obviously I like monetization, but you can swear as much as you want in chat. He's cleaning the Western Office sword edges from the bench. You sure it was not the linseed oil that I think we're in the middle of a conversation about actual weapons and swords here. That's the yearly cleaning of the swords done. Now do what put from the plastic crack pile of shame to work on, says Mordraka. So Mordraka has been swording. Nim asks what sword, and Mordraka says a bastard sword, a couple of old long swords. I suspect one is from around the time of the Edward Longshanks, and a reproduction of a feudal Japanese katana. Cool. Sword. Have you seen those swords from the guards in Markarth? They're curved swords. Curved. I've been playing Skyrim. I love Skyrim. Skyrim's so good. I love Skyrim so much. Quano Man is in. Welcome, Quano Man. We have Model Making Guru. Don't know who that is. I've not got a button for it, so I'll press this one instead.
Slap it on.
But I will say Skullfish. See, when I do it, you get a live one. You don't get some button press. You get never the same. Never two will be the same. Or no two will ever be the same. Always be different. Of course, it'll hurt my throat, but never mind. We have Candygram from Mongo. Welcome, Candygram. We have Mordraka says, oh, Skullfish says, damn it, Sharpie death. I don't know what you've just done, but you've done something. Not too bad for Monday, says Mordraka. Monday, not too bad for a Monday morning after all the Australia Day celebrations. G'day, bro. Congratulations and happy Australia Day. I've actually got, when I do my painting videos and I use the Citadel paints, I've actually got a paint that I think it's Administratum Grey. I renamed Australia Day, I think. Glad that today's a public holiday. Good reason to sleep off the grog. So Mordraka's a bit ropey. So what I'll do is I can't go dead loud because I've got the limiter on the microphone. So I can't suddenly blast your ears, but I'll also blast everybody else. So everybody would suffer. But I would talk really loud just to make you suffer more. But I won't do that. I'm not like that. David Butch, that model is in. Afternoon all, says Dave. Or David. Apparently we've all got to call him David now because his name's David, not Dave. He's decided that he's being posh and he's on. So, and it's Sunday, so it's his Sunday best name. So everybody just call Dave, but call him David from now on. David. Who else have we got? Lewis Williamson. Afternoon all. Welcome, Lewis. We have Eric Graham. Afternoon. Welcome, Eric. We have... People are talking about fluffers. I don't know what the conversation is. I'm going to just skip past all that. Yes. David Sanderson came in with some sad faces. Welcome, David. Of course, when he says hi and then two sad faces, somebody's going to ask, why, what's the matter? And he says, nearly chopped my thumb off for the second time trying to remove figures from the bases, but I'm here. Stop. Oh, don't. Why? How? Why are you taking... What? Why are you even removing figures off bases? And these figures you bought are all ones that you're trying to rework. I would just not do that, basically. Can you not just retexture the base or strip the base or something? Why are you taking them off a base? I would recommend, if you're taking them off the base, it may be worth you investing money in a very, very fine modelling saw. Because then what you can do is you can get your saw blade between the foot. Imagine that's the foot and the base there, and just go. I've done that before on figures. I have. Or another thing you can do, if you want to avoid, if you've got a figure glued to, here's a handy tip. If you have a figure glued to an base, and you want to remove it, if it's super glue, then what you can do, if it's for some reason somebody's super glued it to the base, which is dumb, but if they've done it, what you can do is put it in the freezer for a few hours, pull it out, and it'll just snap off, because super glue gets very brittle when it's very cold. So if you ever need to break something apart that's been super glued, not always works, it's not always going to work, but if it's been super glued, put it in the freezer for a few hours, pop it out, and it'll just snap off. There, you've got it off the base. You still need to sand it down to clean off all the residue and the glue and stuff and the schmutz, but you've got it off the base. If it's been glued with proper plastic cement, you can, like David's trying to do, get it off with a knife, but you're either going to end up snapping the blade and a bit of blade will go in your eye, or you'll stab yourself like David did again almost, or you'll damage the plastic. If you've got a very, very fine modelling saw and the figure's big enough, you can just gently saw between the foot and the base. You'll sacrifice a little bit of the foot, but it's not that bad. Or, alternatively, what you can do is get your nippers and cut the base away from around the feet. So what you end up with is the dude with a foot, and you have a little bit of the base, and you just go around his foot and you trim around his foot with the nippers. So what you have is his foot like that. There's the base of his foot, is a shoe here, and you have a little bit of base on the bottom of it, and then you can just file it down. Just file it away, and then you've got a dude with perfectly clean feet, no base attached, or very little base. And that way you're just trimming away all the base apart from under his feet and just trim it back and sand it back. That's the easiest way. Not the easiest way, but it's the least damaging way to get figures off bases if you can't remove them, or if they've got loads of texture on, stuff like that. It's just the least damaging to the figure to do it that way. Let's have a look. Chris at Gross Models is in. He's probably he's not working, but he's working on something at his desk. He's painting. He's watching paint dry. Somebody does ask about Dad, Mike Mountain, one of our lovely mods. Chris and Dave are your current mods, by the way. My mods are lovely people. They're awesome people. They'll look after you. They'll treat you right. They'll protect you from all things. I have discovered, we have this thing about, if you're watching this, by the way, and you've got the chat, make sure you select live chat at the top. I've discovered what the difference is. Top chat and live chat. Top chat is the chat, but filtered to remove any spam and anything that I've set as spammy comments and swear words and stuff. So that's like filtered chat. It's not really top chat, it's filtered chat. Live chat is anything. It doesn't filter anything. So if we ever get any spammers, and I don't, they'd appear in chat. So make sure you get it on live chat, because it often filters out lots of genuine comments. So if you suddenly find you're missing comments, I don't think you'll see all the chat here. I think it misses some out in there. If you are watching this and you want to join in the live chat, make sure to hit the YouTube button at the bottom of the screen down here somewhere. If you're not on YouTube, it'll take you to YouTube where you can join in the live chat, and you should. But yes, Dad's one of your mods as well. The mods will look after you, but if you cross them, they will break you in half and burn you alive. Dad is one of the mods, but he's poorly sick again. So somebody's asking about him. I think he's actually getting back. He's getting back now. He's got a bit of the flu, basically. He's fine. He'll be all right. Let's have a look. David Sanderson says to butcher that model, "Oh, are you a Sanderson?" Because Dave says, "Hello, David," and I must say that's a damn fine name, sir. And he says, "Are you a Sanderson?" He says, "Sanderson, no, I'm a David." David says, "Oh, he's common as muck we are." And Chris says, "You don't know common until you've met Dave." And then Dave says, "He's right on every level." You have never been a David, you are 100% Dave, says me to Dave. And he said, "My mum used to shout David and I knew she'd found something out." Oh, yes. Oh, yes, David says he's getting Necrons off the base and going to apply them on new ones soon. Yes, if you're doing Necrons, because they're the same with Skitari. The ankles on Necrons and Skitari are very delicate, so if you're trying to prise them off, you can snap the ankles and it's just sadness. If you're trying to get them off base, then definitely it's easier or safer to cut the base away with your nippers from around the feet and then just sand the feet to a flat surface, sanding all the base away. It takes more time, but you're not going to damage them delicate little ankles. Dave is telling us he was the 12th child of 14. His mum was married 3 times, and she used to shout out the names till the guilty one flinched. Yeah, Mum was like, Alistair, Ian, Michael, Dave, Paul, John, all of you, you're all in trouble. What? We have Colin is in. Colin from Festa 67's workshop. Howdy, folks. Don't forget, of course, if you didn't know this, Colin does do the stream before mine. Mine's at 3 PM every Sunday. Chris at Gross Models has his at 8 PM. Colin does his buddy build brunch club. Clear my throat again. Colin does his buddy build. Him and Dave do a stream at 12:30 on Saturdays up to 2:30 to lead up to mine. So make sure next week, if you didn't watch it today, make sure you go and watch that before you watch next week's stream. 12:30 on Festa 67's workshop. So Colin is in. Andy McLeish salutes. Edward Leonard is in. Morning, afternoon to all. Let's have a look. Colin saying hello to everyone. Rolux Illusion says afternoon all. Welcome, Rolux Illusion. Cynical Steve is in. Afternoon all. Had a very heavy night on the pop, and I'm a little fragile going to lurk. Again, I can't do the loud because I've got a limiter on the microphone, so I can't go all loud and make your ears bleed. Not that I would. We have Dave says something I'm not supposed to mention, but I've suddenly stopped reading that sentence. I don't quite know why. Dim says, oh no, the Plague Marines have infected Fox. I never get sick, apart from when I do. Frankie Goes to Hobbywood is in. He says hello to everybody. Welcome, Frankie. Andy McLeish says Gothorm. Yes. I'm going to quickly whiz through the chat. I don't want to get bogged down too much. Robert Powell, welcome. Robert says, I've just grabbed my first box of Warhammer Dark Imperium. Son and I are excited. Thank you, Mr. Fox, for all the motivation to venture into the fight. Yes, you'll like it. A lot of what I'm doing in this Warhammer Conquest is actually the Dark Imperium set with some other bits thrown in. So, for example, when I'm making like these Death Guard Plague Marines, these are the same ones you get in the Dark Imperium set. But the beauty is, when you finish making it and painting it, you'll have the Space Marines and the Plague Marines and the Death Guard, and you can have your fights. That set would give you what's considered in Warhammer a small, not a skirmish game, but a small engagement, a small battle. But as you collect more dudes and more models, you can get more and more. You can have bigger battles. So that's a really good set. It gives you a lot of really nice models, and you have some good fun with that. Somebody pressed something. Let me just find what that was. There we go. Skullfish, of course. Skullfish does his regular official super chat. You can see it there in the chat. It's this blue box here. That's a super chat, and he says, of course, Soup Cat, because he does it. Thank you very much for that, Skullfish. I'm very, very much grateful for your support. Your super chats do support me. They don't go towards the stream boss battle. They support me directly. So thank you very much. So yes, you'll have some fun with them, Robert, and you'll have good fun playing with them afterwards as well. So have fun with those. And welcome to the dark side, because you'll never get out of the habit now. Sorry about that. Yeah, Chris at Gross Model says, you won't thank him soon, Robert. No, you won't, when you've got like 50, 60, 70 Space Marines, 5 tanks, 6 Lehman Russ, a load of Imperial Guard troops, a load of Plague Marines, Death Guard, Pox Walkers, Blight Drones. You'll hate me. I've ordered another box of Scions, says David Sanderson. Yes, I've got a box that I need to make. I hate making the arms, but I like the look of them. I have 20, I think I've got 25 or 30 of them built and primed, ready to go. And I've got another 5 I need to make. ATTG is in. Afternoon all. Welcome, buddy. Let's have a look. Who else we've got coming in? Plague Marine, says Andy McLeish. You don't like arms, do you, says Chris at Grace Models. I don't mind arms. I just don't like the arms on the Scions, because, let me get the box. I've said this last week, but I'll show you again. I don't like... Ooh, throwing it everywhere. I don't like the arms on the Scions because it's not just an arm, it's the upper arm and the lower arm on each one, which would be fine, except, when you're trying to get, say, this dude here, and he's got his arm there with the... You've got to make these 2 bits of the hose line up, because that's a separate part to the backpack. That has to line up there, and you have to get these 2 pieces of the arm to glue together, and then this arm is 2 pieces to glue to that, but match up with the hand on the rifle, and this cable, and it's like... It's fiddle-tastic, but they do look fantastic, so I can kind of put up with them. The other thing is you get the nubs. The nubs are always on these little screens on their arms, which is really annoying. I hate that. But they look fantastic, so yes, I've got what I like. I love painting the heads. The heads are brilliant. I put a couple of Scion heads on my Gene Stealers that I did on the little car thing. I've forgotten what it was now. And the Ridge Racer, and they look fantastic, so I'm going to look forward to painting mine. I hate the arms on Deathcore Krieg because, seriously, I don't mind arms. It's when arms aren't marked and numbered. So here's 4 guns, here's 4 left arms, here's 4 right arms, here's 4 other weapons, here's another 4 right arms. Good luck with that. Instead of saying arm 23 and arm 24, that goes together. Arm 25 and arm 26, they go together. No, you just get, here's 4 arms, here's 4 rifles, put them all together. And I'm like, oh, I did it on my Deathcore and it killed me. So, yeah. Wait until a few issues when he has to do the scouts with sniper rifles. I'm not even thinking about that. Dave says, it's awful. You are clear and crisp. It's very strange. I assume that's aimed at me. Something happened. Something happened. Achilles Saltas. Can't read it with the wrong glasses on. Achilles Saltas subscribe. Thank you very much for your subscription. For some reason it's not popped up in my little notification thing here, but thank you for subscribing, Achilles. Right, let me whiz through the chat a bit. So apologies if I've missed you. Raging Bassist is in. I'm getting a bit sidetracked here. Andy Busby's watching. Hey, Andy. My subtle hint worked then, did it? Andy Busby's my very, very good real life mate. I know Andy. Andy's a good mate of mine in real life. Used to work together, and he's awesome. So welcome, Andy. Are you watching on the big telly? Let's have a look. Cy Reynolds is in, your Lord and Saviour, Cy Reynolds, who was the stream boss before George became the stream boss, and there's a big war now between Cy and George. But welcome, Cy. Pity we can't ban Fox. I don't know why Cy would suggest such a thing. We're not even current mods, Paul. I don't know what the conversation is, but yeah, you went in. I didn't see you in the chat, but yes, Paul is also in as Team Inept. Cy Reynolds is in as another one of your mods. You didn't get mentioned because I didn't know you were in. So there you go. You're in now. I know you're there now. Oh, something happened. Chat jumped. Fox convinced me to try with all of the... Hello, got more things happening. All things happening today. David Sanderson tipped £3. Thank you very much, David. That's very, very kind of you. That will go into the tip jar, and that will have reduced George's health up here a little tiny bit. Aha! Thank you very much. I don't get that. That goes into your tip jar. Team Inept says to Robert Powell, I also like to think you're the actual Robert Powell off the telly. Don't ruin it. I don't know. Right, let me whiz forward a bit, because we're going to get stuck doing chat all day. So apologies if I've missed you out. Daniel Rigby says, got Blackstone Fortress and going to give painting the minis a go, but not painted before. Can anyone suggest what brushes to get and sizes for a beginner? Don't want to spend loads to start off. I would say recommend 2 things for brushes if you're starting out. If you're happy spending about 35 quid, get yourself the Army Painter Mega Brush Set. It's got a good selection of brushes and it's pretty much anything you'll ever need, and they are fantastic brushes. There is a link in the description below the video for my Amazon store. If you go there, there's a section for paints and brushes and stuff. The Army Painter Mega Brush Set, assuming you're in the UK, is in there. There's a US store as well if you're in the US. The Mega Brush Set is in there. It's about 35 quid. They are fantastic brushes. I've got them here. I've got loads of them. I've got the whole set. They're brilliant, and it's things like the Regiment brush is probably the most common brush you'll use for painting minis. Failing that, if you don't want to spend quite that much, you only need a few. Depending on what your minis are, if they're just figures, you can, to keep things simple rather than getting into different brush sizes. Although I don't normally suggest getting the GW brushes because they're easy to recommend. Get yourself a medium and a small layer brush, and maybe an artificer layer brush. And that will be a good place to start. They're not cheap. They're not cheap brushes. And they're not as good as the Army Painter, but it's a bit cheaper getting 3 brushes rather than a whole pack. But if you can stretch to 35 quid or so, get yourself the Army Painter Mega Brush Set. It's brilliant. And it is in my store. The Citadel brushes are in my store as well. We'll go and check them out. Cy Reynolds says Army Painter brushes. Grab the set. Yep. Leave my health alone, says George. That's when that tip came in and took his health down. George is in. Welcome, George. You're still pronouncing it wrong, says Dave, and then the sentence just stops after that. Ignore Fox on the Games Workshop brushes, they suck ass, says Cyrus. Well, they do, but it's easier to say go and get a medium and a small layer brush than go and get yourself a 00 this and a 000 that and a 7.25mm that, and it's just for the sake of, but yeah, get the Army Painter brushes if you. I would suggest the Army Painter brushes over the Games Workshop. Right. Anyway, that's a swig of tea, big swig of tea, and let's do some work. I know me do work. What's that all about? So, like I said, today's Plague Marines. This is issue 46 of the Warhammer Conquestings. I've just opened a pack of fudge, says Chris at Gross Models, waiting to see how long until Fox smells it. I'd already smelled it. Has Army Painter fixed the paints yet? I've never actually used Army Painter paints. I hear tell they're quite transparent and streaky. I have to say, I just absolutely adore. If I was to put my favourite paints in order, I would say Citadel paints for brush painting. Citadel paints first and foremost, because I adore them. Very, very closely followed by Vallejos. Game Colour, and then the other Vallejos. And then, not really on that list is the Ammo by Mig for brush painting. They're not great. They're fine for airbrushing if you know what you're doing. Yeah. Right, for the first one, I've actually split the sprue into two because I've got the camera in close, and if I start waving a big sprue that big around, it's going to get really confusing, so I've done that. We need 18, 19 and 22. So how is everybody? Let me put my visor on so I can see what I'm doing. Every time I get that box of Tempestus Scions, it just makes me really want to build my Tempestus Scions. Yeah, so how is everybody? How have you all been? I like the fact that Google decides that Scunthorpe is a swear word because it filtered Andy's comment out. Andy McLeish says, and a weekend in Scunthorpe. Hey, YouTube, Scunthorpe is not a swear word. Well, then again, maybe it is. I don't know. Scunthorpe's not that bad. Weekend in Scunny. 18, 19 and 22. So let's get the bits off. 18, 19 and 22. For some reason, on most model kits, when I make a kit, I'll generally look for the part by its look, not by the number. Except on Games Workshop, where the numbering makes no sense. And I have to look for the look, but then I forget that and I look for the number. I can't help myself. 18, 19 and 22. There's 21, 24, 27, 6, obviously, 8, 18, 19, 17, 38, 13, 11, 20, oh, it's on this sprue. Ooh, 22 is on this sprue apparently, and it is exactly where I've cut off the sprue. Fantastic. Well done, Fox. You're a spesh, aren't you? You really are spesh. I hope this is 22, because I nipped the sprue apart just there where I needed it to not be nipped apart. So 19 we need. 18 and 19, I've got 18. God, Games Workshop. 19, 19, 16, 5, 9, 35, 36, 31. What does it actually look like? Front half of a dude. Let's narrow it down. It's not that guy. Ugh. There he is. That's the fellow. There we go. I'm using my big fat clippers to start with, just for the expediency, because these gates are huge and I don't want to destroy my lovely, lovely god hands. My beautiful, beautiful god hands. 21 and 20. 21 is a grenade. He's got a grenade in his hand. That's that one. Yeah, so I don't want to knacker my beautiful god hands on these big fat connection points. So I'm just cutting them off loosely with the Games Workshop cutters, which are not delicate in any way, shape or form. Then I'll go back and tidy that up in a minute. 20 is the arm with a bolter in it, which is not there. I'm trying to go off the look of the piece now rather than the number. That's 4. There we go. Now it is important to note, if you are doing this part work, this is issue 46. A very important thing to do on this. It's not made clear specifically in the building instructions, but when you get when you get these magazines each month, make sure to read the introduction by Ian in the front, because it will say you need to use the parts from issue such and such in this, or you'll need to save these parts for issue. There's some information in there that it doesn't explain in the actual building instructions. Some of the parts on this sprue you're not going to use, you're going to use them later on. Now it does say the extra parts below are, it says the extra parts. The parts shown below are, you can't see that, can you? The parts shown below are extra. Store these in a safe place that they are used in a later issue. The later issue is actually issue 60. I have marked on it so I know. Because what I will do is, when I finish building these, I'll get those extra parts, I'll put them in a little bag, and I'll put them with all the parts for issue 60. So if you're doing this, issue 46, the parts you'll have left over go to issue 60. Keep them all separate. Don't just throw the spare parts away. For a lot of these, you do get some bits left over, and I have to admit, there's a couple of bits where I've thrown spare heads away because I've got no use for them, and I'm kind of hoping I don't regret that later on down the line. But this bit, it does say to keep them, so right. So we'll get this guy cleaned up. A swig of tea, dab of tissue because my moustache takes up half the tea. Let's have a look. Andy McLeish says, Army Painter paints need a lot of shaking and mixing. Cy Reynolds says that's just a property of the Army Painter paints, to be honest, Andy. Same for, say, scale 75 paints. Andy McLeish says, yes, that's what I meant. A lot of horsing around to get paints ready. Army Painters are in dropper bottles, not the god-awful Games Workshop bottles, says Dave. Yeah, that is... For brush painting, I actually like these pots for brush painting, because I can pop it open, get a bit. I like that. I don't mind it so much. I hate that idea for airbrushing though. It's a pain in the bum. I do like dropper bottles though. I wish the US had gotten these magazines. It's a great deal, says Robert. I thought they had released... Oh no, they haven't, have they? Hachette don't actually have... It's Hachette, not D'Agostini, isn't it? Hachette do not actually have a North American office. They have an office in South America. They don't have a North America office, so that's why you can't get them in US, in North America, which is a real shame. The only thing I can suggest is if you know someone in the UK, you can come to an arrangement with them. Or a different country where this is available. Your only real option is to find a service that can get things from other countries for you. Or, if you know someone in, say, the UK, get them to subscribe, and you give them the money, they subscribe to the part work, and then every now and then, or right at the end, they send you all the magazines. I know a couple of people in the US who are doing that. They've got someone in the UK to subscribe to it for them, and like they're not quite sending them over every month because that's going to get expensive, but every now and then, every sort of couple of months, they'll batch them all together and stick them in a box and post them over. And you know, the person will pay a little bit of shipping for that, but so it costs a little bit more. That's your only real solution if you're in the US. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a shame. There's this whole set. I've said it before. If you are thinking about this, there's two available at the minute. There's this one is the 40k one, Warhammer Conquest. It allows you to basically assemble an Imperial Space Marine army and a Chaos Death Guard army. It's about 1,100 quid's worth of stuff that you get for about 750 quid, something like that. You are making massive savings. There is now, of course, the Age of Sigmar one as well, called something or other, I can't remember, which doesn't give you, well, it kind of, I don't think it gives you such a massive saving. You're not making such a massive saving on what you actually get, but what you do get is more. With a premium pack for this, you get some data sheets and some play mats and stuff, and it's all right. But the premium pack for the Age of Sigmar one, the Mortal Realms, that's what it's called, you actually get a load more minis from different factions. You get a ton more minis. So I think value for money. I think that Conquest is better because you're paying less for more, but for the actual what you get, I think the Mortal Realms is got a bit of an edge there. But I'm not a big fan of the Sigmar. It doesn't really interest me. But I mean, maybe once this is done and this is all, I've finished all the Conquest stuff, maybe next year I'll subscribe to it. It's not something I can afford right now. I'm not a big fan of it, but we'll see how this goes. When I've done all this and got all these built, remember I'm up to, this is issue 46, it goes up to issue 80, then I'll start videoing and filming the actual painting process, do lots of build videos and paint videos for you. We'll see how that goes, because it's a big task, and it might be that when I finish these guys, I think to myself, I don't want to do that again. I don't really want to have to paint a million things again. Because the thing with the thing with Mortal Realms is there's not as much variation in the minis. So what I'll do is, for example, when I've finished you know, the Death Guard, I might have, say, 20 Plague Marines, 40 Poxwalkers, a fetid bloat drone, a mephitic blight hauler, I'll have a rhino, I'll have loads of scenery, and there'll be loads of different, so I can paint, I can do lots of videos. I can say, here's how I'm going to paint a Plague Marine, and I'll paint one Plague Marine, and I'll video that, but then I've got another 10 to paint, but that's fine. Or I'll say, here's how I'm going to paint a Poxwalker, and I'll paint a Poxwalker, and I'll video that, but I'll have another 20 or 30 to paint. But there's enough variation that I can get quite a few videos out of it. With the Age of Sigmar one, though, it's kind of like, I'll do a, here's how I'm going to paint my Nighthaunt figure, but then most of the other minis are also going to be kind of Nighthaunt. So there's not, at least from initial looks that I've had, there's not as much variation for me as a video maker to get out of it. It might be like, in the first episode we're going to paint this Nighthaunt, and now you know how to paint all the other models in your Nighthaunt army. Bye. That's it. I might get 2 or 3 videos. Once I've painted one Stormcast Eternal, I've kind of painted all the Stormcast Eternals, so I don't see as much potential for me making videos in that particular part work. Really. I mean, it's a bit similar like the Space Marines here. Once I've painted one Space Marine, I've kind of painted them all, but, you know, we'll see. We'll see. That'll be next year anyway, if ever. Now, I've got to be really careful. There's the spiky bits sticking out of all these Plague Marine parts, but they're all bits that snap when you handle them. Or stab me. I have actually received stabity from parts from the Death Guard. I've been stabbed by the Plague Burst Crawler. That has stabbed me. I did have a little wound in my thumb. There was blood. And that wasn't even a knife. That was from the Plague Burst Crawler. I was shocked. I was shocked, I tell you. I was truly shocked. Right, I've got a nub mark on this Plague Grenade, Pox Grenade, but I don't want to snap it. But I think I'm going to snap something. We'd watch you anyway. It's not like you do much on Sundays. No, I mean for the actual build videos. For the paint videos, Chris. Yes, if I got the Sigmar thing, I could get, you know, weeks and weeks of building Warhammer Sunday building videos out of it. Of course I could. But in terms of actual painting guide videos, I'd get a handful, and I'd find myself basically painting the entire part work, which is a big undertaking, but out of it I'd get 4, maybe 5 videos. The return on the investment for me for content is not great. Although I probably still get, you know, tons and tons of Warhammer Sundays, I wouldn't get many pre-recorded video things to make. And that's the deal breaker for me in a way. Because I'd basically be saying, right, I'm going to put up this video and then spend the next 3 weeks painting these guys that I'm not going to film because you've already seen it. So that's 3 weeks of me painting stuff and not filming it. Which is not great. Which is kind of the situation I'm in at the minute. I'm working on the Sazabi right now, and that's not something I'm really filming at the moment. But yeah, so it's just not, it's not ideal. So a quick look at the chat. David Sanderson said, got a letter from Hachette. They are moving premises and there's a month's delay on deliveries. Yes, they have changed their distributor. I believe the company that sends out the packs, sends the stuff out each month, their fulfillment company, they've changed them. They did actually. Now, I've got confused now because I got a mail as well saying they've changed customer services. But I don't know if that was Hachette or D'Agostini, because I'm also in the X-Wing thing. I think it was Hachette as well. But they've changed their distributor where the stuff gets sent from. So they're saying there will be a bit of a month delay with the issues, which is fine. I don't really mind. It's fine. It's not like I'm, you know, not like I'm up to date and waiting around. Yes, so there is, if you are subscribed to this, there are some delays. I would suspect if you subscribe to any other Hachette partwork, it will probably also be delayed. So I've got a sniffly nose, I do apologise. Now, the one thing about these Plague Marines is there's not many seam lines that I have to clean up on them, which is brilliant. Si, can you explain to Fox the Sigmar is far better than 40k as the monsters are the mutts to paint? I've tried, but it's like banging your head on the wall. Dave, I know that the Sigmar have some of the best models to paint, and I will, over time, paint Sigmar models. But as a maker of YouTube content, that part work does not offer me a lot of content to be made, which is the only reason I would actually do the part work, is to film the content. I don't have anything against the models. I have got some Sigmar models in my collection, believe it or not. Shock horror, I know. And I will make some Sigmar models. I have built some. But in terms of the game, I have no interest, because I don't do fantasy nonsense. Swords. I want bolters. I want vehicles with rockets and wheels and things. Sci-fi grabs me more than fantasy shenanigans. Having said that, I really do like the Skaven. Little rat dudes. I like the Skaven. There will be Skaven in my future. Trust me on that. What are we building today then, Fox? Welcome me on's cart. Today I am building issue 46, which is some more Death Guard. Death Guard reinforcements. I've got a couple of Plague Marines. How many have I got? 2 Plague Marines, 4 Plague Marines, a Fetid Bloat Drone, and a Lord Contagion. Not all of those are going to get built today. Obvs. So we're just doing the first one at the moment. I did finish off the scouts last week, that was doing last week. Yeah, they were just death. They were hell. Hated every minute of that. Yeah, never making them again. Any seam lines? Yeah, the thing about these Death Guard is that they're really nice for seam lines, because there aren't many seam lines on there you have to clean up. What there are really small, and because their armour is all kind of gnarly anyway, you can get away with a lot. It's quite surprising what you can get away with. I need my little holder of bits. There we go. Have a quick look at chat. So Reynolds says, oh my god, God hands, I just got my first pair. They really are gorgeous to work with. They are better than any clippers I've used previously. They cut like a knife through butter. Yes, mine are old, but they still work perfectly. David Sanderson says, can they be used on all thickness of sprues? Si says, not really, and I tend to cut things from the sprue with a pair of my Tamiya clippers that then clean up with the God hands just to use it. Fox, your chat is blank, says David Sanderson. Yes, Streamlabs, which is what I used to stream, occasionally hangs. Although it doesn't stop the stream, it just stops dead in its track with everything else, and sometimes the chat just stops, and then it'll catch up again. It has now, so don't worry about that. It's just a Streamlabs thing. It's also why my buttons don't always work. If I try and press tab now,
Slap it on.
it works, but if I tried it when the chat was blue and there was no chat, it wouldn't have worked. Yes, you don't want these. These are they're so expensive, these, that you don't just cut things off sprues with these, unless it's a very fine gate on a piece. If I'm doing Gunpla, you'll see me use God hands on Gunpla, because often the connection points are really delicate and fine. You can just snip, fine. I would never use these on one of these sprues, because it'd be like trying to cut a telegraph pole with a butter knife. It just wouldn't do any favours. So yeah, that's why that's why Si does it, and you'll see me do it. I'll get them off the sprues with these, because these are like garden shears. They're not that great. They're fine for heavy duty stuff, and then the little bits of nub that are left I'll just snip off. Occasionally you'll see me cut things off a Games Workshop sprue, but only where I know there might be a really, there is a really, really tiny connection point, so I'm quite happy to go in and just snick that with these if I've got them in my hand. But as a matter of course, yeah, these are clean up purposes, not get things off sprue purposes. And as Simon says, or whoever it was, it says, chat, don't cut with the tips. If you cut from the tip, you will break the tip. You cut halfway down. Conquest was starting in France but couldn't subscribe from the Netherlands, says Pascal. Yeah, it depends on. It's basically down to where Hachette have got offices. They don't have offices everywhere. They have an office in South America, but not North America. They do have a publishing company in North America, but just not a Partworks division office. They are in Australia and some European countries. But yeah, if you can't get one in your country, the only real option is to find someone who will be prepared to subscribe to on your behalf in their country and that you trust, obviously, because then you can pay them. What the people I know that are doing it, basically, I think they are subscribed to it, and then they get a few months together, and then when they're ready to ship it, the person that wants it will then pay them for the cost of the subscriptions and the shipping, and it all just goes over. And they do it like once every few months, I think, if I remember rightly. I wouldn't do it every month, because then you're paying shipping every month for a package. Let them pile up for a few months and ship them in lumps. Hachette don't have any Partwork office here in the Netherlands, says Pascal. Yeah, that's why. Let's have a look. Quick whiz through chat. You can do a couple of the cheap issues and do those, though, says Paul at Team Inept. I've got some Sigmarines that I need to build, because Fluffy Guts, Lindsay sent me some, didn't she? Scott's friend. I could try do, says Rick Cy Reynolds. The models for Sigmar are awesome, but Fox is a stubborn dude. I don't have anything against the models. It's the game that doesn't interest me. And I don't know. I will do Sigmar. Just I've no interest in the actual game. I'm more to me, shiny things are space guns and space cars and space marines and space and shooting and explosions. Magic and swords and stuff is like eh. That's why I don't like Lord of the Rings and things. Hello all, says Eon's Car. I did not watch the Sidewinder stream yesterday, sorry, as I was on Twitch watching Quiet Shy's charity stream. I don't know who that is, but don't worry, you don't have to apologise. You don't have to watch all that stuff. Not required at all. Chat. Daldrick 9000. Hello, chum. Sorry I'm late. I was buying stuff. Always good. Chris doesn't need god hands because he just uses a chainsaw for sprue cutting and a pneumatic drill for gun barrels, says Quano Man. It's kind of true. Stephen Werner is in. Hello, Fox and guys. Welcome, Stephen. Conquest is starting in Germany and France. Awesome. Nimsindri and I have returned. Have I missed Stabity time? No, there's been no Stabity. Robert Powell says, are the transfer sheets any good with the Warhammer kits? I would say that the Games Workshop Waterslide decals are second only to proper... I've forgotten the name of them. Who makes the really, really good decals? The company, the Spanish company that makes them for everybody. I've forgotten them. Anyway, apart from those, which are the best decals ever, I've forgotten what they're called. Somebody in chat, remind me. The people that make the company that makes decals that like Revell use and everybody else. I've forgotten what they're called. Cartograph, that's it. If I was to put decals in order of quality, Cartograph, Italian, not Spanish. Yes, thank you, Paul. Cartograph make the best decals in the world. They're a company that they don't make models. They just make, amongst other things, waterslide decals. And they make them for things like Revell and stuff, which is why a Revell kit can be terrible, but the decals can be really good. If you ever get a model and it's got Cartograph on the decal sheet, you're in good hands. The Space 1999 148 scale Eagle transporter, they made a big point of saying they are Cartograph decals. So Cartograph make by far the best decals. Second to them, strangely enough, is Games Workshop, in my opinion, is Games Workshop. Their decals, they have almost no clear film on them around the edges, and they go on like a dream. They're a bit thick, but they're brilliant. They're fantastic. And then after that, I would say Bandai. And then after that, I'd say probably Tamiya. After that, yeah, most people are average or rubbish after that. Worst decals I've ever come across are Mobius. People that make a lot of the horror figures and the vinyl figures and the Colonial Viper kits and stuff. Their decals are just absolute garbage. I can't stand them. They rip and explode. But yeah, Games Workshop decals, they're absolutely brilliant. They are fantastic. They go on like a dream. I've never yet ripped a Games Workshop decal. I've mishandled them and everything, but I've never yet ripped one. You can't go wrong with them. I don't need to do that. They are really nice. Even Airfix has started to use cartograph decals in their new model kits. Yeah, if a company's got half a brain and it can afford to do it, it should farm out their decal creation to cartograph, because cartograph just do make the best. I think it's because they do a lot of other things. They don't just make model kit decals, they do a lot of that kind of stuff for other things as well, and they're just leaders in it, so they do just make the best decals. And you will know because on the decal sheet it will say somewhere cartograph, or at the very least made in Italy. So if you buy a Revell kit, the decal sheet is either going to say copyright Revell GmbH blah blah blah, or it's going to say copyright cartograph, because Revell have actually got the sense to farm out their decals sometimes to cartograph. And I've got to tell you, I've got to be honest with you, you know, I mean, I know I rag on about Revell sometimes. They do make good kits, and there are good Revell kits out there. But, you know, the one thing they do well consistently, without fail, is decals, and that's because they get cartograph to do a lot of times. So they've shown some good sense there. They've saved some money by not doing them themselves, but they've chosen the right people to make them. Academy are the worst decals ever. They're thicker than your average top hauling, says Spid. I've never tried an Academy decal, but I can imagine. Yeah, Mobius decals, they're horrible. I had, because I did the Colonial Viper, and it's a beautiful kit, but the decals are absolute garbage. If you get the Revell Colonial Viper, it's the Mobius kit, but it's got Revell decals in it, which are infinitely better. So if you're going to get a Colonial Viper, don't get the Mobius kit, get the Revell kit. The kit's exactly the same, it's just the decals that are different. But I had the model of the Mobius Colonial 1 from the BSG, you know, the remastered Battlestar Galactica. And I really wanted that model. I love the look of the Colonial 1. It's a fantastic looking ship. It looks brilliant. I was tempted to get some Pan Am decals made, just to put all over it. But I had that model, and I got it, and I pre-ordered it when it was announced, and it took a year. It was a year later that I received it because it got delayed. And I've never pre-ordered a model before. But it was announced and I pre-ordered it, and it turned up about a year and a half later. And I was like, this is going to be brilliant. I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to make it the moment I get it. And then I looked at the decal sheet and I realised that the majority of the ship was decals. Because it's all different colours and stripes and things. And I hadn't considered it, of course, but I realised it was mostly decals. And the way they moulded it, it was not exactly masking friendly. If you wanted to mask and paint the colours yourself rather than use their cronky decals, it wasn't really very friendly towards that. So basically it went back in the box, and then eventually I just gave it away as a giveaway prize. I couldn't bring myself, remembering what Mobius's decals were like on the Colonial Viper, I just put it back in the box. When I did the Colonial Viper, I tried the decals. But of course you're doing like the red stripes on the Viper that go around the wings and around the nose cone and stuff, and they all kind of need to go over various surfaces. And after half the red stripes ripped and tore, I actually gave up and just painted the markings on instead. Painted on the red stripes. Because I couldn't face the decals. They really were terrible. They just ripped. Like you just get them off the paper, they would rip and shred and tear. And it's like, really? They're not even withstanding being taken off the paper? This is ridiculous. Nope. They were ripping, they were shredding. I hated them. Yeah, Games Workshop decals are great. I like Games Workshop. You can't go wrong. Let's have a look. Cartograph's website is blocking as it runs on Flash, FFS. Yeah, they're an old company. They've been around for a long time, and they're not. A lot of what Cartograph do is not public facing. It's like business to business stuff, because they do a load of other stuff. It's not all like things for model kits. So, you know, they're not exactly aimed at modern people. Has the question been asked, says Nim? And the answer is no. So Nim then says bench and belly times. Yes, so as always, because Dad's not here to ask the question, we all forgot. What's on your bench? What you're working on right now? And what's in your belly? What are you going to have for your dinner later on, or what have you had for your dinner, depending on where you are in the big wide world. Morning from Minnesota, says Gion. I'm going to say Gion Heller. I do apologise if I've got it wrong. Is it Gion or Gion? I don't know how I can ask you that. You can't really tell me in type, can you? But Gion Heller, welcome. Morning from Minnesota. Morning. JS Idaho is in. Hello, everyone. Welcome, JS. Nim then, of course, answers her own question. Bench, MG, Master Grade Sandrock, belly, sausage. I'll read all that again. Bench, Master Grade Sandrock, belly, sausage McGriddle. Hell is that? We don't get that over here. Sausage McGriddle, hash brown and donut stick. Donut sticks? With chocolate dipping sauce, and no, I am not sharing. And a picture of a pig. Wow, I don't even know what donuts. I can imagine what donut sticks are. Are you getting things at McDonald's that we don't get? That seems a bit rum. I thought they had a global thing. Same everywhere. I need to Google what a McGriddle is, says Cy Reynolds. There you go. David Butch, that model, says belly a cheese sarnie. Cheese. Wow, hang on. More tea. And then obviously the mop-up duty for the moustache. Try again. Belly, a cheese sarnie, bench, the last 4 chain rasps. Hopefully they'll last for a long time. He's made about 1 billion of them. Oh, it's essentially a sausage McMuffin without the egg. That seems incorrect. Why would you not want the egg? Eon's Car says, bench, Fallout Wasteland Warfare, T45-51 with 10mm pistol. And for the belly, roast potatoes, Yorkshire puddings and sausages. Oh, I did have great fun doing my Fallout Wasteland Warfare minis that Medephius sent me. They sent me a super mutant. They sent me Nora, not Nate. They sent me Nora, and they sent me dog meat. Although dog meat did not have, sadly, welding goggles or a red bandana. I have to say that a bit lacking, but they were beautiful. They sent me them just as they released, so I got like the first edition. First release. They were beautiful quality. I really enjoyed them. I'm not a big resin fan, but they're really nice. So yeah, be having fun with that. T45. Let's have a look. Skullfish says belly Cadbury mini rolls. Oh yes, this is utterly correct. Rolux Illusion says bench Caradron. I can never say that. Caradron. Put my teeth in. Caradron Endrid. Hang on. I need to clear my throat. Bizarrely, this is kind of hard to explain, but bizarrely, now I've adjusted my microphone and set things up properly. Talking quieter is actually harder on my throat than talking loud, which doesn't really make any sense, but the way it is. So anyway, let's try that again. Caradron Edrin Master, belly soon to be a bowl of kimchi ramen noodles. Every time someone mentions noodles, all I want to do is eat noodles. Donut sticks kind of look like churros. Oh, okay. I'm not a big fan of churros. Sorry, Gotham. Cynical Steve, benches Lego Fat Boy Harley. Belly, don't know yet, not sure if I fancy food. The answer to do I fancy food is, you know what the answer is. There's only one answer. A man doesn't eat, he will die. Misquote Blazing Saddle. Bassist is putting together band sheets from the Sigmar artwork. They'll be used in D&D. Belly, nothing. Been about 2 days since I ate. You need to eat. If you don't eat, you will die. And that is not awesome. I have spoken. Nim says, sausage, egg and cheese on 2 pancakes with maple sauce on it. I need that in my life. Osric, bench 172nd Sky Raider AEW plane. Belly, chicken, ham hock and mustard pie tonight. Oh, ham hocks. Oh, apparently the griddle does have an egg. It says the size says it doesn't do it justice. The egg, there's no egg in the picture. Intercessors and seasoned beef tacos is what Robert Powell's working on. Giant Heller is Lego Technic Porsche 911 GT3 RS. Nice. And belly is tater tot hot dish. I know what tater tots are. I assume it's tater tots You might need to. Oh, I've done it again. Every time you get a Death Guard thing, and it's got one of the little sort of things dangling off, and then you snap it. I hate that. Yes, for anybody new watching, by the way, if you've never come across this, but when we do bench and belly, whenever you describe food, it's actually illegal just to say something like pizza or burger or stew. You have to give all the filthy little details. We want to know all the things. So, like, if you say pizza, everyone will shout it. But if you say, steak, cheese, tuna, anchovy, pepper, pizza with cannellonis and pineapple and whatever, if you go into lurid, filthy, disgusting detail, everybody will like you. So you need to explain what a tater tot hot dish is. I don't think anyone will know what that is. We need to know. It's information we need. Apologies, clearing my throat. Yeah, for some reason, talking quieter is harder than talking louder. On the throat, on the wear and tear. Because as you know, I often used to talk quite loud, but now I've adjusted the microphone in various ways. I don't need to. Let's have a look. It jumped. Dodgers 3000. Welcome, Dodgers. Bench high grade GM command. Nice for a local group build. Belly lasagna. Excellent. Jamie Bone. Hi everyone. Welcome, Jamie. I don't know if you've answered it, but bench and belly has been asked. Mordraka says, bench the last of Mongoose Publishing Starship Troopers Arachnids, belly chicken stir fry, and 12 Budweisers from the 4th carton. Yeah, get in. Get some beers in you. Although it's Budweiser, so I use the word beers in inverted commas, in bunny quotes. Yeah, it's not really beer, is it, Budweiser? Not proper beer. Not proper grown-up beer like real people drink. Ian Scott says, yes, I have a dog meat without goggles. He is done, though. Yeah, he needs goggles and a red bandana to be proper dog meat. Andy McLee says, off for home. Laters, guys. Thanks for coming in, Andy. See you later, buddy. Could anyone tell me how many miniatures the 3 different sided carry cases hold by Citadel, please? Looking on Goblin Gaming, but it doesn't say. You mean the battle case, the Crusader case, and the skirmish case? It depends on the miniatures. I've got a skirmish case. Let me get one. Hang on. Give me a minute. It'll take me a minute to get it. They don't really tell you on the website, and I know you're not going to see a lot of this. I can't really move the camera, but skirmish case is the small one. It's not helped you at all, is it? Because you can't really see it. I'm going to have to move the camera. Let me move the camera. There we go. Right, this is the skirmish case. And I have it. You get 2 layers of that size. So that's 1 layer. That's the 2nd layer. It does 100% depend what you put in it. All these little bits of foam, you can cut them up if you want. You can wiggle them around. I've got dudes stood up, lying down. I've got a dreadnought in there. I've got a bloat drone and various bits and bobs. It depends what you're putting in it. So the skirmish case is 2 of these. And you can get quite a lot. I've managed to get... I got 3... of the little baby Imperial Knights, the whatchamacallits. I forgot what they're called now. The Warglaves, Armiger Warglaves. I got 3 of them in one skirmish case by just having 1 layer of foam. I take them all apart. So that's the skirmish case. The battle case is, if I remember correctly, just 2 lots of these. It's 1 of them and another 1 of them. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, I think it's 4 of these. So it's that plus another 1 of that, basically. And I haven't got a battle case, but I do have a Crusader case, and the Crusader case is, I think, 1 of these on top of another 1 of these, and then next to that is another 1, so it's 4. I think, I can't get it, I can see it from there. I think the Crusader case is that plus another 1 on top, and then doubled. So you've got this, there, and then next to it another 4, so you've got 4 of these. So this is the skirmish, the battle is 2 of these, 4. And the Crusader is 4 of these, 8. I think, somebody tell me from the chat if I'm wrong, because I'm doing it from memory. I can't get to my Crusader case to open it to show you, but other cases are available. They're not terrible. They're not the best, maybe. They're not worst. They're fine. They're absolutely brilliant. There are cheaper ones available. There are better ones. But you can't really go wrong. If you're going to be... I've got to adjust all the focus and stuff now, haven't I? Ooh. If you're going to be moving around and going to places to play games, let me adjust all the focus and things. Hang on. So you can see everything properly. Where's my focus tool? Let me show you my tool. One sec. Nearly. Yeah, there enough. There's the centre. There's the centre. Down a bit. There we go. Might be able to focus a bit now, but you'll survive. Yeah, they're fine. They're absolutely fine. I say they're not the cheapest. There are other ones available. Your mileage will vary depending on which ones you get. I'll move in a bit more. There you go. You can see things. Right, let me adjust the focus again. See what you get me doing now with the moving of the camera. Hang on, moving now. Also, I've got the wrong glasses on to do this, but never mind. I know this is breaking your eyes. Yeah, near enough. That'll do. There we go. Yeah, they're not the cheapest cases, but they're alright, they're fine. I find them useful, although I don't actually go anywhere and play anywhere. I do find them as a useful way to just store the minis. So far, most of the minis I've got built for Conquest up to issue 46 are fitted in 2 skirmish boxes. Apart from like the vehicles and the scenery, which are all just sat in a different box basically, but I've got all the little minis into 2 boxes. You can see in that one I've got them all stored up. You can lie them down, you can stand them up. They're quite good. But yeah, they don't really do a good job on the Games Workshop websites for telling you how much they actually hold. Matt Baker says, bench, second of the 3 Centurions getting fully magnetised, 34 per figure. Wow. Belly, roast lamb and raspberry meringue pie. Seconds of both. Absolutely seconds. Quanoman is doing some of the streaking underneath of Millennium Falcon, but the upside downness is warping my tiny fragile mind. Handy tip, if you're doing underneath, turn it over. Then you just pretend it's the top. All the streaks go down from the centre out. No, they don't. They go the other way. Ha! Yeah, exactly. That's why you got to be careful. They go in, don't they? That's, yeah, I've got to remember that. So you got me then, and I'm trying to explain it. Yes, they have to go in. You're putting streaks on something that go in towards the centre. It's really weird. Just take a while. It got me. It took me a while to get my brain around it. So you're not wrong. Cy Reynolds, bench is finishing up the build on a Warlord Titan. Really? Is this full size or the small ones? Belly is a Tunnux caramel wafer or 4. This is correct. I don't remember you telling me you got a forgeable Warlord Titan, so I'm going to assume it's the little ones that you got. Jimmy Bear, 135th Airfix M3 Stuart on the bench, and Belly chicken nuggets, chips and beans. Beyond Hope says, I really need to say I hate Korax white paint. Oh, hi guys. I don't mind it, it's alright. As long as you base it with something good. Start off with Celestra Grey or something underneath, or Elthuran Grey, just to start you off. Which one is it? Celestra Grey or Elthuran Grey? I can't remember which is now. The base one. It might be Celestra Grey, I think. Or one of those two. Elthuran Grey or Celestra Grey is the base coat to use for that. Paul Di Tommaso is in. Hello, people. What's happening? We're building some Death Guard. Tater Tot Hot Dish is a cream of mushroom soup, carrot, corn, green beans, fried hamburger meat and cheddar cheese all in a pan with tater tot laid in on one flat layer on top. It's a Minnesota thing. I need that in my face right now. I did not know about it until I moved here. I'm originally from Denmark. Wow, that sounds awesome. That sounds fantastic. That's knocked off Runzers for the #1 American food I've never had and need to try. Crusade case has 8 foam trays and the Crusade extra large has 16. I didn't know they did an extra large. Holy cow. Yeah, the Crusade case is the kind of thing you want if you've got a massive, massive army, or if you've got lots of very big things, like if you've got a whole load of Imperial Knights. You won't fit an Imperial Knight in a skirmish box. I made the terrible mistake of making my first Imperial Knight and not magnetising it, so it's an entire knight and it just doesn't fit in anything. You could put it in a battle box, but you'd have to take the top layer off. So yeah, but you can cut them around. You can cut the foam inserts and you can mush around with them. It's great. They're really handy. I personally would recommend Battle Foam storage over Games Workshop storage cases, but it comes to budget, says Cy Reynolds. Yep. Again, if you're in the US or the UK, my Amazon store has a selection of cases. I think I've got some non-GW ones in there as well. But if I haven't, give me a shout. I can always add more. Link in the description below the video for my Amazon stores. What goggles are you using, says David Sanderson. What, these? This is a crappy cheap one I bought from Hobbycraft probably 15 years ago that I don't know how much it cost. But I don't know what brand it is. And it had loads of extra bits that I don't use. And it had a bit that slides down over the front that I took off because it got on my nerves. This is old and battered, and I painted a shark mouth on it because, of course, I did. I need a shark mouth on everything. Yeah, I decided to go and do some painting in my local GW store, and I decided that as I'd be the only middle-aged guy there with a bit of a pot belly and scruffy beard, I didn't want to look like a kiddie fiddler, so I painted a shark mouth on this to make me look like less like a strange person in the background and more like just a cool model maker. I don't know. But yeah, these are just like some cheapy ones that I got from Hobbycraft like 15 years ago. You can get ones with lights and lots of different lenses and stuff. You don't need to spend a fortune. I just need it to zoom in a bit. So I wouldn't say spend a fortune on ones with lights and things like that. You don't need the LED light. If you get one with an LED light on the front, that's just extra weight on the front of your head. And when you're wearing one of these for like 5 or 6 hours, they get really uncomfortable. So I don't recommend one with a light on the front. You should have lights anyway. It just adds extra weight. Just get yourself one. Get like some of them come with a set of lenses. You can get that if you want. And you can vary them. But I just find this is fine. Thanks, Sire. Where would I look at getting them from? It's mainly just to store them as I'm away all week and my wife and kids like to investigate and clean. That's about storing his minis. The GW ones you can get from GW. The other ones you can get from. Just go on Amazon. I say if you, I would personally obviously say go to my Amazon store. Link in the description below. Just do a Google search. Just do an Amazon search for transport cases for minis. If it's not, if you want to go through my store though and it's not in there, if there's only GW ones, give me a shout. I can add others. I think I added non-GW ones anyway. Sai confirms his Titan is the Adeptus Titanicus scale. The detail is amazing. Yes, they look rather good. Dave says, Danger Will Robinson basically is having smoked gammon and roast chicken for Sunday dinner. So she who farts in bed must be after something, even though she just had 600 quid for a new oven. Celestra Grey confirms Eon Carr. Yes, put Celestra Grey under any white. Celestra Grey is a beautiful base paint that will paint it a kind of white, off-white colour, and then when you put a white paint over it, like your White Scar, whatever it was, you won't suffer the consequences. When I paint things white, like when I do what they say black and white checker patterns, I haven't got any here right now to show you, but when I do black and white checker patterns, I will paint Celestra Grey base, and it looks like a grey colour. It's kind of that colour, that kind of grey colour. Celestra Grey base, and then I'll go over with Ulthuan Grey if I need to, and then maybe I'll use a bit of a White Scar or the Corax White just to do an edge highlight or a little bit of an accent somewhere. I don't necessarily paint it white. If you're painting something white but it's going to be weathered, you don't actually have to paint it white. You can paint it an off-white and it will look fantastic. Don't overthink it. It's not the coverage of the Corax White, it's the fact I have 5 pots of it and all of them have turned to powdery, oh yeah, balls of pus in the middle of the pot. Oh, in that case, yeah. Dave says, stick in some Lamian medium in a stirring bowl and mix it to hell and back and it'll be fine. Your wrist will ache, but the paint will be great. The extra large Crusader case came out when they released Apocalypse. I've got a Crusader case, but not extra large. Beyond Hope says, Lamian medium's the only thing I haven't tried yet. Water, acrylic thinner, and 98 IPA have all failed. Basically, Lamian medium is Citadel paint without any pigment in it. So if you add water to it, you're thinning the paint. It's changing its physical makeup. If you add thinner to it, the same. And IPA, again, you're thinning the paint. That's going to make it even worse to paint. Corax White is a streaky paint anyway. If you add water, alcohol, or thinners or IPA, you're going to make it even thinner and even harder because the pigments are going to not bind together properly. So you're just going to give yourself more sadness. If you're Adlamian medium, it's what the paint is made of. You're just diluting it, not thinning it. So although it will still be more transparent, it's going to be less bad than putting thinners in it, basically. But yeah, you might need to buy more. If it's for storage at home, the cardboard KR multi-cases are brilliant for home storage. The foam is perfect and the cardboard is great if you're not going to lump loads of crap on top of them. They are run at like £15 for storage for 100-ish Space Marine size models. Cool. Somebody send me a link. Somebody send me a message on Facebook later on, Cy Reynolds, or somebody. In fact, Cy, just send me a message on Facebook later for those on Amazon. I'll add them to my store. I didn't know about those. Cy Reynolds says what I just said a minute ago. When painting white, your pure white paint should only be a highlight. It tricks the eye. Yes. I don't think cardboard would last, as I built a kitchen table and my wife and kids aren't the cleanest when they eat, mainly my wife. Yes. Right, I need to blow my nose. 1 second. Sniffle stuff. I'm going to find something to show you. 1 second, if I can dig it out. Might not be able to find it. Let me check. There we go. That is not white. That is Celestra Grey and Ulthuan Grey. There's actually no white on there at all. Because, or there may be a little tiny bit of white I might have put on some of the edges, but it's blended away now. Because it was going to be weathered anyway. And I didn't want it to be bright, stark white, because white is the worst paint in the world to paint with. You can see if you look at the white stripe there from that water slide decal compared to that, you can see it's a kind of off-white, bluey grey colour. But if that white stripe wasn't there, you just assume it was white. That is just Ulthuan Grey and then Celestra Grey. The base, whichever was first, because I forget which is which, the base colour first, and then the layer paint on top, and you can build it up. And what Sai is saying basically is that's what you would do. Celestra Grey is the base, if I've got the right way around, then Ulthuan Grey over the top. And then, if you want to do an edge highlight, you might do that with your Corax White or your White Scar, just as an edge highlight. Or just, if I was doing, say, chipping on a white, I'd do the Celestra Grey and Ulthuan Grey, and that'd be my white colour, and then I'd add chips of white, so the Corax White or the White Scar, to do paint chipping. It's a bit like black. When you paint black, you don't want to paint black, because if you paint something, if I was painting, say, this, I wanted this to look weathered. If I was to paint this, and I painted it black, I couldn't do a shade. I couldn't put a wash into the recesses to darken those. It wouldn't show up. You can't go darker than black. So if I was to paint this, what I would do is paint it a dark grey, and then I've got the option then of doing a black wash to darken the recesses, and you can see then you've got the contrast between the recess and the raised areas. Or you do it a light grey and build up the dark areas slowly. You want contrast. If I just paint it black, it's just black. All I can do is highlights, not lowlights. The opposite with white. If you paint something white straight off, I've just dropped my brush, hang on. Yeah. If you paint something white, then you can't do a highlight on it. You can do a recess shade, the opposite of the black. You can go darker, but you can't go lighter. So if I painted that brilliant white, how would I then edge highlight the edge? If I wanted to put an edge highlight on it, how would I do that? You couldn't. So that's why ideally you want to paint off-white. Never do white. Unless you're doing like a pristine showroom clean Formula 1 car or something. If you're doing something that's going to be weathered a little bit, then always go off-white. Because then if I wanted to add an edge highlight on here, I could do, for example, I could do Eshin Grey on the black. On this edge, I could do a highlight of Eshin Grey for the black areas. And I could do a highlight of White Scar or Corax White on the edge on the white parts. And it would look like a highlight. So we'd keep that in mind. Never paint something up to the highlight colour, because you need to be able to do the highlight colour. So never paint fully white and never paint fully black. Start just off and work your way up. It also means you can build up shade then. So there's a handy tip for you. And that's also a way to reduce your own modelling stress, because painting white is horrible. and you will just get frustrated and angry. And the reason for that is the pigments that they put into white paint are very powdery and chalky. It's the nature of any white paint. Nobody makes a decent white, apart from lacquers, when it comes to acrylic paints, nobody makes a decent white paint you can brush on without problems, because it's the nature of white paint. It's the nature of that chalky pigment. It's just the way it is. That's twice I've said that, and that's what is that, Backstreet Boys or something? That song, I hate it. I don't know. I hate quoting pop nonsense. So yeah, you can do it, but I wouldn't recommend it. You just always start. If I was painting Guthorm now, I'd paint Celestra Grey as the base paint just to block it in. Remember, your base paint is there to block in transparent colours over the top. So if I was to paint, if I sprayed Guthorm black, I'm like, right, I want to paint this chest white. If I took a layer paint like White Scar or Corax White or even Ulthuan Grey, and I tried to paint it over the black, it will be a nightmare because it's transparent. It shows the black underneath, and you'd have to layer after layer after layer, and you'd end up killing yourself. If you do a base paint first, Celestra Grey is a base paint. It's got denser pigment. I could paint 1 or 2 coats of Celestra Grey over the black. It would block out the black completely, and it just look like a light grey. I could then go over with Ulthuan Grey, which is a transparent layer colour, so it shows the colour underneath. But of course, because the colour underneath is Celestra Grey, it just makes it nice and bright. And then if I wanted to, I could do White Scar over the top. So whenever you're painting with things like white, make sure you're starting off with neutral greys underneath to block out whatever's underneath. If you're painting yellows, you want to start with browns, or again neutral greys, or even white, because yellow is horribly transparent. And with reds, reds aren't often transparent, but they can be. If you're doing a red, you want to start with a brown or a similar dark sort of a red tone, something, or yellow to make it really bright, just something to block in the colour underneath. Remember, layer paints are transparent, and that's the trick. That's why you always start with the base if you can. You don't have to, but it just makes your life easier. Layer paints are always going to be transparent, which is why if you paint I think now, one of the worst things you can do, if you try and paint, if you paint your Space Marine, if you're painting an Ultramarine, God help us, and you've primed him up in Ultramarine blue, Macragge blue, and he's all nice and blue, and you've painted him and it looks fantastic. Your Space Marine looks like that colour. You think, now I'm going to paint some yellow on his armour. I'm not going to do gold. I'm going to paint yellow on his Aquila. And you get your yellow paint, your yellow layer paint, and you paint it on the blue, and you get green. Because the yellow paint, if it was, let's say it was Uriel yellow, or maybe you've painted it with Phalanx yellow or something like that. Let's say you would, Uriel yellow is horrible. If you use Uriel yellow over that, it would be green, because this is really transparent. It's a layer paint. What you would do first, if you wanted to paint yellow over blue, for example, is you would paint a base coat. So you'll paint something like Avalan Sunset, which is a beautiful, dense yellow colour. It's there. Avalan Sunset. That's a base coat. You paint that over the blue. Couple of coats, you've now got a nice yellow area. That would look yellow, not blue, because it's a base coat. It's more dense. It's less transparent, so it won't show the blue through. And then over the top, you go in with your Uriel yellow, which is transparent, but will only show that underneath. And that, on top of that, it's going to look like a bright yellow. So this is specific to Citadel paints. Other paints are the same. You know, if you're using Vallejo paints or Army Painter paints, they're all the same. There's always the colours that are transparent. It's just that Citadel separate them out into base paints and layer paints. With other browns, you'll learn which colours. It's always a good rule of thumb, though, to use that method. If you're painting yellow, use a base coat underneath to block out the colour that's underneath the yellow. Otherwise, yellow is a nightmare. White's a nightmare. Reds can be a nightmare. Anything like that. Let's have a look. Quick due to the chat. Not getting much done today, but we're having a good chat, so it's fine. It's part of the Sazabi, says Cy Reynolds. Yes. Space Hamster's in just for 10 minutes because I'm working. Welcome. You're probably already gone by now, but hello. This Saz binder looks fantastic. Farting fantastic. Thank you very much. I did too. It's not even got the outlining on that yet, though. Yes, Celestra is the base paint. Ulthuan is layer paint. So I do recommend, although the Warhammer TV painting tutorials, forget the last 6 months, they've all been garbage. The little sort of battle ready contrast paints. Forget all that garbage. In the old days, the proper old days, when it was just Duncan and maybe just a bit of Peachy, when they showed you a half-an-hour video of how to paint something, that's the stuff you want. Forget all the garbage nowadays about contrast paints. This is the terrible videos. They would often show you. There's one where he shows you how to paint a white Tau battlesuit. How to paint a white, I think it's a Ghost Kill battlesuit, and he says how to paint it, and he shows you. He primes it black, and then he paints it white because he uses the base coats first. So if you want to get your brain round using a dense base coat, and again, if it's not Games Workshop paints, it's fine. The same applies, but you want to just go a similar route. Go and watch him painting that Tau battlesuit because he explains how to paint white, and it shows it. He says start off your black primer coat, which is the worst thing you can do under black. Go in with the Celestra, then the Ulthuan, and then do your edge highlight with the white, and there you go, it's white. And it works, and it shows you exactly. So you have to get your mind around that. Dave was off to go and have his Sunday dinner. Technically, it's Black 3.0, which is blacker than black, says Speedy Curate. There is, but it's not as black as Vanta Black. But nobody can use Vanta Black apart from Anish Kapoor. And every artist in the world hates, I think it's Anish Kapoor. That might not be his name. Anyway, there's some artist who's the only person in the world that can use Vanta Black, and everybody hates him because of it. Because apparently he's not very good and he's a bit of an arse. Jamie Bone got to go now. I have a cricket match in 30 minutes. Have to get ready. Have fun, Jamie. Enjoy your cricketage. I watched someone paint the skulls on a Chaos Warrior straight white a few weeks ago. It was her first time painting anything, and she somehow made it work. I basically decided she must made it work because nobody had told her that it doesn't work, but it kept that to myself. It's like orcs. Orcs machines work because the orcs want them to work. They're not, they could get a squig, a paper clip, and a bit of paper, and they'd have a car, and it worked because orc. It depends on the paint. It does depend on the paint, and depends what colours under the paint. But when painting white, you really want to colours like whites and yellows. They are the universal colours of distress, as in they are nightmare and they will cause you distress. So it's all about what colour you put underneath. If you're not using Citadel paints, that's fine. You can follow the same kind of ethic. You'll get used to the paints that you use. Look online for advice from people that use them as well. You'll find that other manufacturers have similar kind of things. They have, dense paints and transparent paints and all kinds of things. They just don't necessarily separate them out into base and layer paints. GW used to call them foundation paints, the base paints, which is it kind of makes it a bit more obvious. But other brands will have similar. You'll find with other paints, for example, some are quite dense. So, for example, with Vallejo or Vallejo, for example, Wolf Grey, I think it's Wolf Grey, really nice colour, is quite dense. Wait, is it Wolf Grey? Oh, I've forgotten now. There's Wolf Grey and the Steel Blue, and the Wolf Grey is blue and the Steel Blue is grey, which is really weird. But I like those two colours, and they're quite dense. They work quite well as base paints. Whereas their gold colour, Glorious Gold, is one of the ones I've used. Glorious Gold is actually quite transparent, and you have to do several layers to build it up. So, I can hear Mama Fox creeping. Are you creeping? Mama Fox is going up and down the stairs, but trying to be as delicately quiet as possible, because she seems to think that my microphone's that good. My microphone's not that good.
What?
You don't need to creep, my microphone's not that good. Yes. She obviously has great confidence in my microphone, picking up all the sounds from the world. So those two colours are great, but they're Glorious Gold. I think it's Glorious Gold. It takes a few coats to get coverage. So if I was painting something, say, Glorious Gold, instead of painting like a billion coats, it's quite watery colour. Instead of painting a billion coats and cursing the day they made that paint, what I would in fact do is paint underneath the gold areas, for example, a medium brown colour or a red brown colour or Avalanche Sunset or something like that, so that I can get the coverage, something that's got more coverage and more dense pigment first, so that it first of all blocks out the colour that's underneath. Like, again, if you're painting, say, gold trim on a blue Space Marine, I will paint it an orange or a brown or a yellow colour first to block out the blue, to get rid of it. And then the Glorious Gold, for example, would go over the top, would show that brown or yellow or orange colour through it, and pick that up, it would get some influence from it, but it will also not be affected by the blue. So it takes some experimentation. If you don't use GW paints, you have some experimentations with your favourite brand of paints. You'll find out the ones that are good. There'll always be generic sort of greys and browns. If you're ever not sure, though, I mean, you can never go wrong with just using a fine, a sort of good neutral grey colour. By neutral, I mean it's not particularly warm. It doesn't push towards the red. It's not got a blue tint to it. It's just a neutral grey colour that covers. That's the safest bet you can do. Basis is going to go and make a brew and be right back. Sai says, Avalanche Sunset is essentially a very yellow ochre, i.e. very yellow brown, to back up what Fox is saying. Yeah, it's just kind of, it's that colour. It's a good, warm, obviously yellow ochre colour. It's a fantastic ochre colour. And it's great because if you put gold over that, it warms it up, but it also blocks out whatever colour's underneath it. If you put a yellow over it, it helps block out the yellow and make it more yellow. If you want a very bright yellow, you would put, say, a really dense white colour underneath the yellow, but you're still going to have problems. So, yeah, it's a good. I mean, the thing about Citadel paint that I love, they have thought it out quite well, or they used to. So their base coats are really well thought out. I noticed on Citadel Colour website they have a lot of the advanced methods going from battle ready to parade ready. What you need to do is basically, you need to ignore any Games Workshop video that says battle ready or parade ready or any of that nonsense, all that modern stuff. It's crap. I'm going to be honest. It's terrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. Battle ready is absolute garbage. Because battle ready looks bad. Even for someone who's never painted before, it will be a bad thing to put on the table. It's not good to look at. I know they're trying to aim it for people who have never even held a paintbrush before, but frankly, I think that's underestimating the ability of people who've never held a paintbrush before. I think it's insulting to people who've never painted. Battle ready is absolute garbage. Parade ready is not much better. I feel sad that we no longer have the old standards of, it looks really good. Like the stuff Duncan and Peachy used to paint. It was kind of halfway between what they call parade ready and tabletop. It was maybe just a little bit off tabletop standard, but it was still approachable and accessible for beginners. And that's just gone now. Now we get this battle ready crap, which is absolute rubbish. It really is terrible. Every time I see how to paint such and such a figure, and it's like a 3-minute video, I can't watch because I know it's going to be absolute garbage. And now they have the classic method and contrast method. I like contrast paints if they have a function to serve, but I don't want to paint somebody with them because they look terrible. I'll use them as a complementary paint to my other paints, but I don't want to. I'm on a rant now. Yeah, so you want to go back to videos before the contrast paints launch. So I would say any videos before summer 2019. I think any videos that were uploaded before, let's say, 2019, you're probably on a good thing. It's going to be one of the proper painting videos. They had the daily tips, which were the quick things, and they had a few sort of quick, here's a quick way to paint something or the other, but all the other tutorials were proper how to paint. And like I say, Duncan's standard was verging on the tabletop. It was proper let's just say it was tabletop standard. And he can actually paint better than that, by the way, just so you know. If you look at the stuff he's painted for himself and not for GW, you can actually paint much better than that. But that's what they wanted. Yeah, go and look at the old stuff if you want to understand how to use the GW paints to their best effect. And if you're just starting out, if you want to learn how to paint, don't watch anything they put out now. It's all just, I hate to say it. I would watch every single Games Workshop video that came up, but now I just refuse to watch them. I saw the videos that came out for the airbrushing, the how to airbrush, and I looked at them and thought, hang on, they're a minute long. That's not good. It's got some American dude. Doesn't really matter, but that don't really matter. But and they had the stupid. I'm teaching the person how to do this, but now I'm going to cut to the cameras looking at the side of my face. I hate that. I hate that. The moment they did that on the first video, I was like, yep, I'm not watching the rest of these now. their video production has just gone basically down the toilet. So, sad to say it, if you get a painting guide on GW's channel now on Warhammer TV and it's not a tip of the day and it's like 3 minutes long, don't even bother. It's not going to teach you anything of any value. It's going to teach you how to paint something just with contrast paints that looks complete garbage. I mean, go and watch Peachy painting a Acadian trooper with nothing but contrast paints. You can almost feel the pain in him as he says, and that's it done. Now we just need to do the base. And I'm looking at this little figure going, that's absolute garbage. And Peachy knows it. He knows it. Because Peachy's a damn good painter. And he's looking at that going, what the hell is this crap? It's shameful. So I really cannot wait to see what Duncan... I'm going to have to glue this. This bit on the end is going to snap off. I'm going to have to glue it because it's going to snap. I really can't wait to see what Duncan's doing. He posted up a tweet of a load of video equipment, so hopefully he's going to do his own YouTube channel. That'll be fantastic, because I really miss Duncan's painting tutorials. Not because it's awesome to watch and he's like Bob Ross, but because he's a really good painter. And, even just painting to the standard of the old Warhammer TV tutorials, even painted to that standard, your models will still look fantastic. That's why I would say that kind of standard is a good beginner level. And I think it's insulting that GW is now aiming their beginner stuff at paint it with contrast paints. I do like contrast paints. They have a place, they have a purpose. But I think it's insulting what they're doing for beginners. Contrasts aren't bad paints, said Eric Graham. No, contrasts are good paints. I like contrast paints. I painted all the metallic colours on my Achilles Ridge Runner were painted with contrast paints, because they're really good for that kind of cel-shaded look, that kind of graphic novel, current comic book look. They're really good, but they have a certain way to be used that works other than that. But to paint Acadian Trooper with nothing but contrast paints, it looked like just garbage. So yeah, Nim says, happy little fluffy cloud. Yes, let's just move on. I despair now, because I love that content. I love that channel. I love their content. But now it's just unwatchable to me because it's all just garbage. And I really hope, and this sounds really weird, I can only hope that Peachy is able to move on and do something else. Because, yeah, he's a talented painter, is it? And he's just being wasted on there. You could almost hear the pain in his voice as he said, and that's the Acadian Guardsman complete. And his brain's going, no, not complete. It's nowhere near complete. It's not even start. It was horrible. It was painful to watch. And then they get rid of their glazes, says Edward. Yes, they got rid of the glazes. Oh, God. I don't know. So, yeah, Warhammer TV, not really worth being subscribed to that anymore. Speedy Curate says... Let's have a look. Hang on. No, let's go back a little bit first. Thing is, though, Parade Ready is barely tabletop standard, says Cy Reynolds. I know. Basically, anything now that's Parade Ready and... I mean, Battle Ready is just... I've painted it with my elbow. I'm sorry. No one should paint Battle Ready. And that's why I say it's being insulting to beginners and newbies. If I'm teaching someone how to paint who's never painted before, I would have the expectation that by the time I've shown them how to paint something, they would paint it vastly better than their battle ready nonsense that they put out. Just garbage. What Games Workshop calls Parade Ready is what I would call Battle Ready these days. This I agree, says Jan's Car. Contrasts are good if you know how to use them. I've seen stuff in full contrast and it looks good, says Team Inept. Absolutely, yeah, like I say. All the sort of metallic parts on my... It's not here, I can't show it to you. But all the metallic parts on my Achilles Ridge Runner, to get that Borderlands look, were painted with Griff Charger Grey and Space Wolves Grey. These are perfect for doing not metallic effects, but comic book metallics, where it's just all shades of grey. These give you a great watercolour effect. They're great for doing watercolour metallics. That's the best way I can describe it. Go and look on my website for the Achilles Ridge Runner. You'll see what I mean. That Borderlands look where there's no metallics, they're just all greys. It's brilliant. I love them. I do like them. They're brilliant paints. Just don't use them the way Games Workshop want you to use them. Use them like thick watercolours or glazes. Yeah, Duncan's tutorials were the Games Workshop cabinet standard, i.e. looks cracking on the tabletop, says Cy Reynolds. Oh yeah, but yes, we know that Duncan can paint better than that. Let's have a look. Do we know what happened? The big change at Games Workshop downgrading their video standards, Duncan moving on, etc., etc., asks Matt Baker. I do know stuff that I can't really talk about. But let's just say, because it's not my place to say certain things, there are things that I know, but let's just say that perhaps working for Games Workshop is not the dream that many people think it is. It's not the first person I know of who has gone to work at GW and found out that it's not all that glisters is not gold. There are issues. Part of the culture at GW seems to be that the pay isn't fantastic, and that anyway you're working for GW isn't that enough. And there's also a lot of other things as well. A lot of the things I've been told that make you think that perhaps working at GW, I mean, working the retail side, I've no idea. Maybe that's a whole day different, but working actually for GW may not be the be all and end all. I don't know for sure, but from what I've heard, it was simply a case with Duncan leaving and with a chunk of the production team as well. Let's be honest. As if I've been reliably advised that it's not just Duncan that left, there's people behind the scenes that left as well, production team and stuff. That basically the money wasn't that great, and there was a lot of other reasons for them to be unhappy about what they were doing. So I absolutely wish him the best of luck. I hope he's really successful. I hope he does a YouTube channel and makes a real go of it, and because I think he will. He'll do well. But I think the problem boiled down to a certain toxicity of culture at Games Workshop. That's probably as much as I can say. But it wasn't just Duncan, there was a video production team as well. So that's probably why the quality's gone down out the toilet, because they're not there anymore. Spid says, GW now have a vested interest in doing quick paint promoting contrast paints. They have to justify the existence of them to sell them, and they know younger kids have no attention span. There's probably some truth to that. Cy Reynolds says, last time I spoke to Duncan, he is currently filming, but it's not Games Workshop stuff. Yes, you may not know this. You may not know this, folks out there. But Duncan actually has quite a big passion for Napoleonic reenactments. Bizarrely. I know you're thinking, what? Not only does he like other stuff apart from Games Workshop, he has been making some Conflict 40, some bolt action stuff and quite enjoying it. He's got a load of Napoleonic troops, and I have seen a photograph. Apparently he's actually a reenactor. He also reenacts. He has the full Napoleonic rifleman with the... I've seen a photograph of Duncan in his full Napoleonic rifleman musketeer. It's fantastic. So he doesn't just make... He does the actual full-on reenactments as well. So, big stuff to Duncan that you don't know. And that might be one of the reasons that he decided to leave, was he probably got fed up just doing Games Workshop stuff all the time. Within a week of him leaving, he's bought himself a wet palette. And he's even mentioned about airbrushing, so yeah. So he probably just wanted to move on and do more, basically. I suspect is the crux of it, and probably find more money. David Sanderson, got to say goodbye all. See you. Thanks for coming, David. You've probably already gone. I do miss the glazes. Only have the blue, red and green, not the yellow glaze. I love Lamenter's yellow. It's a beautiful, beautiful glaze. I use it a lot and I really will miss it. I wanted to buy yellow before it went out of production. I forgot, and now it's just like stupid. Simon Reynolds says Air Sigismund yellow clear, Air Cath blue clear, Air Angron red clear, and Air Mortarion green clear are the old glazes. Same exact formula. Cool. Rolex Illusion says the pay is crap and it's a toxic place, I hear. Simon Reynolds says essentially they lost 3 out of 4 editors last year, or 3. I don't know if you mean 3 out of 4 or 3/4, but it's the same thing. I'm an idiot. I don't know why I said that. He lost 3/4 of the editors last year. Duncan was pressed into a path he didn't agree with in terms of direction, amongst other things, and the community team got a totally new. And then ends the sentence there. Oh, director, which totally changed it. And Sai then says, I left head office here for the last time yesterday for similar reasons. Yeah, sad news, but if you're not happy, you're not happy. The pay really isn't crap, but the environment is terrible. Okay, I updated on that one, then I stand corrected. Anyway, yes, he LARPs too as a knight. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Need a break from the Big Falcon, so I'm doing the Death Star, says Quanoman. Yes. Sai says that he knows that Duncan's received offers, and ultimately, it would be insane if he didn't. I mean, come on. Who would, if you had a company that made miniatures of some sort, like if you're a Warlord or Mantic or somebody, why would you not want to take Duncan on? But, I suppose the way he's thinking right now, I don't know. I can imagine if it was me, the way I'd be thinking would be, well, hang on, I've just spent years doing AN manufacturers' models, and it was great and fine and all that, but I couldn't do anything else. Would he really want to go and do the same thing again, where he's got the option of doing it himself on YouTube and being free to paint whatever he wants? He's probably weighing that up right now and thinking to himself, what's best? Do I want to be locked into another manufacturer again? Because he does have varied interests. Like I say, on his Twitter, he's been building some World War II bolt action stuff. He's been doing some other bits and bobs. And think of it, if you're another manufacturer like Warlord or Mantic or somebody, to get Duncan doing your videos would be an absolute steal. Of course it would. It'd be the best business decision you ever made for your company ever. But at the same time, if you're a company that makes minis, would you want Duncan to be painting somebody else's minis? Of course you wouldn't. I'm sure one of the things you're thinking about right now is, do I want to really be boxed into that kind of corner again? He might decide that. I don't know. I will be seriously eyeing up the possibility of just going independent on YouTube. Because trust me, if Duncan does set up a YouTube channel, he's not going to be short of subscribers. Of course he's not. He's going to have no problems at all with that. And then he's free to do whatever he wants. He's free to go where his interest takes him, which is the best bit. This needs to go on back there, like the actual see. I like the fact they've covered up this little seam line with the little bit of panelling there, so it's actually basically invisible. You just can't see it. I like it. Very, very nice. I like that. Very, very good. Very, very good. A little bit of glue in there. Just a tiny touch. Just the one, Mrs. Wembley. Do. But who knows? Who knows what will happen? I suspect GW will be absolutely kicking themselves, though, right now, in a lot of ways, because think about it. Duncan was the public face of Games Workshop. For better or worse, he was what people associated with Games Workshop. No disrespect to Peachy or Nick Baton, but they're not in that same place that Duncan was with the not the fans, but the people who subscribe to the product. Where are we? Talking about the Death Star model, Bandai. I think that's where we're up to. Matt Baker says, these days I get my Games Workshop fix almost exclusively from Darren Latham, whose channel is awesome for that. I want to progress to display standard. Yeah. I say the thing that frustrates me at the minute is, with their current direction, is this stupid jumping camera angles bullshit. I'm going to swear, screw it, bullshit they do. Which started when they got Geek and Sundry to do some of their how to play videos. And some of the, the Warhammer Conquest. They started kind of copying that Geek and Sundry style of person's talking to the camera and then the camera goes to a side shot. Oh, and I hate that. I hate that. There's only one reason that you should do that. What I mean is the camera's like, imagine I'm presenting something to you and I'm looking at the camera, so I'm looking at you. I'm talking to you and I'm looking at you. If I'm talking to the viewer, here's my basic feelings on production, like doing a interview type stuff. If I'm talking to the person watching the program, I should be looking at the camera because I should be interacting with the person who's giving up their time to watch the program. Simple as that. If I'm teaching somebody something, I need to look at the person. That's the only place I should be looking. However, if I am, say, being interviewed, let's say it's a science program and you're watching Horizon and there's a scientist and it's a scientist talking about, I don't know, dark energy, then it's kind of accepted that the scientist isn't talking to the viewer, the scientist is talking to the interviewer who's getting them to explain something. So that kind of works. So you might watch a program and it'll say physicist Bob Smith discovered this in 1998, and then you'll see Bob Smith talking sideways like a Dutch angle because he's talking to the interviewer who's saying, tell me about your discovery. Now you kind of accept that because the scientist isn't talking directly to the viewer. The scientist is talking to the person who's conducting the interview that you are now watching, and that makes perfect. It's visually grammatically sensible. It makes visual grammatical sense. But if the scientist, so for example, here we go. Okay, BBC Horizon. Let's say it's a program on quantum physics, and they have five different physicists who are explaining, let's say, black holes. There we go. We're talking about black holes. You'll see the scientists talking, but they'll be looking off to one side because they're talking to the interviewer and they're not talking directly to the viewer. But then again, you then tune in to watch Professor Brian Cox talking about the wonders of the universe. And you'll notice when he's doing that, he's not looking off to one side because he's not talking to an interviewer. He's not being interviewed for the program. He's presenting the program to the viewer. And that's the difference. So in where he's presenting a program, for example, I need to drill the barrel on that. I'll do it later. I'll do it. I'll glue it on now and I'll drill the barrel. I forgot to drill his barrel. I'll do it in a bit. Because he's not being interviewed for the program. He is presenting the program, the viewer. That's the difference. If I was doing a video talking to you about painting something and I was on camera, I would look at the camera because I'm talking to you. I'm presenting. I'm hosting it. I'm presenting it. If I was being interviewed on somebody else's video about something, then I would look at the person doing the interview and you would accept that. And this is what I hate that they do now. They have a thing where the person on the screen is talking to you, the viewer, but then they cut to a three-quarter view where he's now looking at somebody off camera and not you. And it's like, what? Why are you showing me the side of his face? He's supposed to be talking to me, not to somebody behind the camera. And the person is supposed to be presenting, not being interviewed. And they don't understand that now, this new production team. They've copied it from when their Geek and Sundry videos went up, and they don't understand that doesn't work. Now, most people, this is me just being shouty about it. Most people wouldn't realise that. Simon Reynolds is off. Battlefront 2 is calling me. Thanks for coming inside. See you later, dude. My brain just stopped then. Yeah, so they seem to not figure that out, and there's nothing that makes me not want to watch a video more than when they do that. They do that camera angle cut when it's somebody presenting, not just somebody being interviewed. And that's when I realised they'd changed production team, because you never used to get that. Like, watch any of the painting videos. The person doing the painting talks to the camera because they're talking to you, the viewer. I did forget to do his barrel. I'll do his barrel later when the glue's all set. I don't think it'll be too long before you see painting videos with, say, Peachy or Nick, and they'll have the thing where it cuts to the three-quarter view of one of them talking, saying, now we're going to paint this, and we're going to do... I just... Oh, makes me so angry. Makes me so angry. Oh, well. Anyway, let's... A cup of tea. Stop ranting. Anyway, why did Cy Reynolds want to go and play Battlefront 2? That's not Skyrim, and it's not Elite. Just poncy nonsense. Go and play a proper game, Cy. Battlefront 2, my butt. Oh, you got to do the Cox voice, Fox. I can't do Brian Cox's voice. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just annoys me. It annoys me. I'm on this mountain in Peru to talk about the universe, which is brilliant. The universe is brilliant. All these stars, it's fantastic. Now imagine that this piece of plastic is a black hole, and that this figure here is like the entire universe. If I put this entire universe in the black hole, then what's left? Oh, brilliant. That's not very good. Sometimes I can do Brian Cox and sometimes I can't, and that was a definitely can't. Oh, well, never mind. Let's glue this dude on the base. Yeah, so I despair at the minute for the quality of their videos. They started doing that. The airbrush one is the latest, is a perfect example of that. The original Geek and Sundry sort of tutorials with that woman whose name I can't remember, teaching you how to play various games. And nothing against her. I did sit there and think, why is this woman teaching me how to play a game? She doesn't work for GW. Who is this person? Didn't bother me. Then I looked up and found out who she was, and there's okay, they do those kind of videos. All right, that makes sense. But they had that thing, and then they started doing that on the Warhammer Conquest videos that they did, and I'm like, oh, they're going to start doing it now, aren't they? And then these airbrush videos, where this American guy who, I don't know who it is. Are we supposed to know who that guy is? The American guy? Are we supposed to know who that is? I don't know who he is. And he's talking to the viewer. Here's how to use these paints. And then he's cutting away, and it's like, oh, is he being interviewed or is he presenting? Make your goddamn mind up. Plus, you can't teach someone how to airbrush in like a minute. Now we're going to use the contrast paints now we're going to use what was it he said? One of them was like, now we're going to do some highlights with these paints. Put it in the thing. You spray the highlights on. There you go, done. Wow, is that it? Is that the kind of tutorial we get now? How to paint owls? Just paint the damn owl. Yeah. Becca Scott, says George Gabriel. Yeah, Becca Scott from Geek and Sundry. They do those kind of videos, so I kind of understood why they did that. But I didn't like their production type. But then they started copying it. So, I don't know. Rant over anyway. Eric Graham says, people won't wonder if we're talking about it now, what do you think the rest of the community thinks? What we're talking about? Oh, I'm just disappointed that GW didn't acknowledge that Duncan had left and all the good community work he did. And Nim says they probably want to make his exit as quiet as possible so people don't wonder why he left. Well, apparently it was all decided like 6 months ago. When, from what I heard, when Nick Baton came on board, that's when they knew he was going to be leaving anyway, so... But yeah, no, companies don't do that. Really. Often, especially public facing stuff like that, they don't tend to say this person's going. No, they do sometimes, but not always. Edward Leonard says, Fox's Film School Part 5, like and subscribe. Yes. You guys just know how to get me onto a rant. And I hate you for it, but I love you for it as well. But there are certain things that bug me. And that stupid camera switching angle, which says we don't know how to make, we don't know the difference between presenter and interviewee. Oh. Do. All that mumbling got one figure done, about right. There you go. I like Becca, says Osric. Yeah, she's all right. I don't like the way they do videos. Like I say, it's that stupid camera again. But what do I know? I'm old. I know nothing. I know nothing. I'm old. Right, we've done one dude. One dude. Be impressed with my vast productivity. Yes, it's because you got me ranting about stupid nonsense MTV generation video production. Right. What's next? Next we have to do the horny dude. Horny dude. So we're on part number 1. I can recognise part number 1 because the gentleman's a little bit horny. As you can see, he's got a bit of the horn going on there. I'll just keep saying that. Use my big nippers again just to get him off the sprue because I don't want to kill my good nippers. Big fat gate. We have part number 2, which will be his back end, if you pardon the expression, which is here. Wait, part number 2 is reasonably close proximity to part number 1. I don't know. We have 4, 3, and 5. 3, 4, and 5. Even. 3, 4, and 5. That's 4. If you... I don't know what we're having for dinner tonight. 3 is that one. Wait, are all these parts really close to each other? Is that normal? Have I just gone into a different dimension where Games Workshop plan their sprue properly? Surely not. There's a hair on that sprue. There's an eyelash. Hang on, just get rid of this eyelash. There we go. It's a piob. 5. We've got 2, 3, 4. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 14. Yeah, they couldn't put his backpack there. They had to put somebody else's backpack there. And you were doing so well, because his backpack's over. They were doing so well, and then they blew their trousers. Oh well, never mind. Can't win all the time, can you, G-dubs? I do rant sometimes, but I can't say I don't love their product. I absolutely adore their product. I just wish they'd get their video production stuff back onto scratch. Nim says, well, Duncan does make his own YouTube channel. Someone should send us the link and we can all show him our support. And by show him our support, I mean stalk him. Yes, absolutely. Oh God, yeah. As soon as he makes a YouTube channel, I'll be on it like Donkey Kong. I mean, subscribe to it, not on it. Very old, says Eric. Yes. What old sci-fi series would you like to see redone and updated? Says Paul Di Tommaso, adding a handbrake turn to the rant, or a handbrake to the rant that I was going on with that I need to be removed from. Yes, mine is dead obvious. You know what I'd like to have remade. I want them to remake Space 1999. There was going to be, for a long time, a remake of Space 1999. And there was some guy whose name I can't remember who was a bit of a weird bloke who had sort of decided to do it, and then it kind of fell over and disappeared. But there were plans to remake it. I would love them to, but with modern visuals, and it'd have to be like Space 2099 now, though, wouldn't it? And they'd have to change the story a bit because obviously exploding nuclear waste dumps wouldn't make the moon fly off into space and suddenly be travelling so fast it can go into a different solar system every week. Yeah, they'd have to come up with some kind of major MacGuffin to make it be in a different star system. But yeah, they could do that. The only stipulation would be if they did that, they'd have to guarantee that the eagles would look pretty much the same. You can't improve those eagles at all. There's nothing you could do to an eagle transporter that would make it better than it was. And if they changed the eagle in any way, I would instantly not watch it. I'd be like, nope, blown your trousers. Denied. Yeah. But you've had one job. Yeah, Space 99, that needs a remake. Space 1999. Make it less... Give it some more modern tastes. Like, the thing with Space 1999 is, it started out with the best intentions in the world, and it could have been the best thing ever. But it just suffered from the typical lack of British funding. It turned into Energy Monster of the Week kind of thing. It could have gone so far, and it didn't. You know, they had the Eagle Transporters, they had Moonbase Alpha, they had this great premise, and then they kind of went all 1970s. This week's monster is, oh look, it's an optical effect. Amazing how many optical effects they exist out there in the universe for us to meet. Yeah, there's be a lot of potential to make a good Space 1999. In the same way that they rebooted Battlestar Galactica, and that was cracking. I don't mean necessarily make it dark. I mean, you could make it dark. There's a lot of dark mileage you could get from Space 1999. But that kind of passionate remake where it's got a passion for the original, but it doesn't necessarily feel bound to the original to remake it faithfully. BSG worked because they took the principles and reworked it in such a way that it worked. Because let's be honest, Battlestar Galactica was another one of those fantastic concept, not particularly well done. It just got 1980'd. It suffered the consequence of when it was made. The whole premise of BSG is fantastic, but it was made 30 years too early and suffered the consequences. So that was good. So something along those lines would be fantastic. What about you guys there? Hope I'll have a look in a minute and see what you're saying in chat. But yeah, what are you guys saying you'd love to see remade? Oops. I did watch over the years. I did watch the remake of Captain Scarlet. They did, which was not great. They kind of did this all CGI remake in the days before CGI was really good enough to do a CGI animated series. They gave it a go though. I mean, not going to knock them for it. They gave it a go, but it wasn't great. I did watch Thunderbirds Are Go, the remake they did, the new series that they mixed CGI and puppetry and models. Weta Workshop did all the model work, and that was actually quite good. I did like that. Was actually pretty good. It changed some things around, but again, it's more like the BSG style. We're going to acknowledge the original, but we're not going to change everything for the sake of changing it, but we are going to just work some things a bit differently so that they make more sense and they work into modern sensibilities. And that was actually pretty good, that new Thunderbird series. It's worth a watch. It's definitely worth a watch. I can't think what the remakes have been on that I've seen. Can't think of any now. Can't think of nothing. What's chat saying? Space 1999 will be amazing, says Idaho. The Invaders. Sticky up finger. Bam, bam, bam. How do you know they're aliens? Because the little finger sticks out. What if they've just got a sticky out little finger anyway? Shoot them regardless. The Invaders. Mild-mannered architect, whatever his name was. You could add a bricky to the scaffolding of the Eagles. What? I don't know what. Oh, I see what you mean. I always found it odd, says Basis, that on the new BSG they got Pyramid and Triad the other way around. Oh, you mean the what? What are Pyramid and Triad? Remind me, it's been a few years. Were they gay, the card games? Or something? I can't remember. It's been a while. Not really a sci-fi person, says Nim, but I really wouldn't mind some sort of funny space show has a plot and isn't just a Monster of the Week show. You've just written off all of sci-fi. Sorry. You've just written off pretty much most sci-fi there. Most sci-fi that isn't totally serious. So you mean like the Orville, which the first season was truly terrible, the second season was actually really good. Yeah, first season we're trying too hard. Second season, I think they took the feedback and people just said, look, you have a potential here to make the Star Trek that Star Trek fans want with a bit of humour in it. Just do that. Stop trying to be edgy. Stop trying to get rude words in for the sake of it, and stop trying to be like, it's not South Park. Just do Star Trek. Just do Star Trek, and then you make it funny. And it worked. The second season, it was really good. They had some dark episodes. They had some serious episodes. And it really was. Season 2 of The Orville is actually really good. And it's like, oh, spot the ex-Star Trek alumnus of the week. 1999 was reputed to be the most expensive British sci-fi show of the time. I think it was UFO they tried to remake. Yes, it was at the time the most expensive TV show in the UK. Season 1 was all UK. And season 2, the reason that season 2 sucks absolute cheeks, if you watch Space 1999, season 1 is fine. And it's very British. It's very British. Season 2 is absolute garbage, and it's because in order to fund it, they had to do a joint funding venture with some Italian TV company for some bizarre reason. Not quite know. I think the wife of one of the executives was Italian, and I don't know, there was some shenanigans going on there. But basically, they had to accept funding from some Italian company or other, and they lost a lot of creative decisions. A lot of things were, they had no longer able to do, and it all kind of went downhill. Which is why you never got a third series, because the second series was really badly received. Not go down well. That's why they introduced Maya. Apparently the Italians wanted a new character, a sexy female character, and all this other kind of stuff. So yeah, it kind of went downhill a bit. Big Finish has made a Space 1999 pilot as an audio drama. They've changed a few things, but it's not too bad. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of audio dramas, though. I grew up listening to plays on radio, and it's like, yeah, I can never take them seriously. I turned on my CD player in the car is knackered, so I'm stuck listening to Radio 4 at the minute. Whenever I drive, if I want anything to distract me. And I got in the car the other day, and some play started. I was like, and now episode 3 of this play. Like, okay, this might be good. And in the first 2 minutes, one of the characters made a joke, and then had to explain the joke. And I'm like, but it was blatantly obvious that the character who explained the joke explained it not to the other person, the other character, really. They were really explaining it for the benefit of the listener, because it was really obscure. I can't remember what it was. It was some really obscure reference from the 80s. And I'm like, wow, if you have to actually get the characters to explain a joke in character, you just don't need to make the joke. And it was really badly acted. I'm like, wow, radio plays have not got better. So I stopped listening. It was terrible. Can't remember what it was. There was some guy doing a ropey Indian accent. I'm like, oh wow, really? Is it 1975 again? Gee whiz. Yeah. So I can't really do audio plays. Terra Hawk says Beyond Hope. Yeah, remake of Babylon 5 would be cool with better special effects. Yeah, no Amiga or video toasters this time. I never got into Babylon 5. I always found it was a bit rubbish to me. I think that was more down to the casting, I think. At the time you had Next Gen with fantastic casting, and you had DS9 with fantastic casting, and then you had Babylon 5 with some glamorous actors, and you're like, oh, okay. To me, in my mind. Logan's Run. Wasn't really a series though, was it? Blake 7. Yeah, Blake 7. I don't really remember much about Blake 7. I really don't. But from what I've seen, it probably would be a good remake. Pyramid was the card game in the original, and Triad was the sport. In the new one, well, I say new one. Triad is the card game, and Pyramid is the sport. Okay. Yeah, mix things up a little bit. I wanted to remake Rainbow. That was the worst sci-fi program ever, says Snowman. I didn't know this, but, because when you're looking stuff up on Google and you end up going off on like a Google adventure. And at one point I was looking something up and it got me I Wikipedia'd Rainbow, the TV show Rainbow. If you're outside the UK, you won't know what this is. I didn't know the Rainbow Remember. After a while, it finished, and then they relaunched it, like with just Zippy, Bungle, George, and it was like, without Jeffrey and stuff. And there's all this kind of things. I was like, really? I didn't know any of this. Made it some kind of edgy Saturday morning kids TV show. I was like, wow. I watched an episode of it. It's like, wow, it's terrible. Because it wasn't the typical, George, Rod, Jane, Freddie, and, all that kind of... It wasn't any of that. It just all changed it to a kids show. And it was like, wow. Terrible. The Italian funding was in place for Series 1, thus so many Italian co-stars. Fred Freeberger ruined series... That's it, Fred Freeberger. Ruined Series 2. I had the information wrong. Thank you for the update, Sluman. Let's read that again. The Italian funding was in place for Series 1, thus so many Italian co-stars. Fred Freiberger ruined Series 2. Robert Meyer Burnett, Free Enterprise, was behind a planned remake of UFO about 10 years ago. There was some guy who was... Yeah, thanks for the update on that. I kind of wondered if I had that slightly wrong. There's some guy who was going to be remaking 1990, and he made some... But he was like some guy that was not connected to anything. I can't remember what his name was, and he disappeared in a storm of bad publicity or something, and there it never happened. There was a Logan's Run series, was there? Oh, cool. Buck Rogers remake. Wow. That'd be good. Big Finish, the only company I trust to do audio dramas. They do Doctor Who and Blake 7 with the original cast, and it's like listening to a TV show with your eyes closed. I may have to give it a try then. Space Ham says, you want to see a sci-fi show with good plots and effects that don't hold up? Try Captain Future, and then says, I meant Captain Power. Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future. Jeez. Never heard of that. I need to blow my nose, though. Oh, a little bit snifflies. Right, so yes, stand corrected on the Italian funding for 1999. I knew it was something like that. It's all got confosculated in the mists of time, clearly. I need to drill that barrel, though. Buck Rogers remake. Yeah, that's another one of those series like Battlestar Galactica that had a massive potential. The idea of it is potential, but the execution of it was, yeah. I mean, it was of its time. But it's important to note, by a modern remake, the problem is that I don't know where that just went. Did that go in my tea? No, I thought that pinged into my tea then. There is a bit of a trend at the minute where it seems to me that the understanding of remake is make it dark and gritty. And that's not necessarily the case. You don't want to do that all the time. It doesn't have to be dark and gritty as a remake. Like BSG was definitely the dark and gritty version of Battlestar Galactica. And it worked. And then everybody jumped on that and said, right, let's do that. But that's not always the right way to do it. It might work. I don't know if you could make, though, if I don't know how you'd make Buck Rogers now not be dark and gritty, because if you made it in the same kind of vein as it was originally, it'd probably still be terrible. It'd probably still be terrible. So, I don't know how you'd do it. Something like Buck, which was, it's the camp. I can't think of anything today that's made that has that level of camp to it that was present in Buck Rogers. I don't know how. I can't think. Tell me if I'm wrong. Is there anything made today that has that kind of level of camp? Is it even something people do anymore? I don't know. I can't imagine. So if you couldn't do it with that kind of campiness to it, and same with Battlestar Galactica, really, it had that kind of camp. I don't know how you do it. Interesting to see, though. Wilma Deering. Oh. Say no more. Don't get me thinking about Wilma Deering when I've got a sharp knife in my hands and I need to not be distracted. Worst thing you can do. Big Finished Adventures are good. They have done a few too many Colin Baker and Doctor. 8 McGann, though. There was this movie and a series of Logan's Run. The series had a cool hovercar in it. Cool, I didn't know about the series. What was that one? What was that thing where they made the big long truck, like the big vehicle for the series? And it only lasted one season or something. Some post-apocalyptic thing with a big vehicle. big massive vehicle they made for it. Matt Baker is loving The Expanse. Must read the books. Yeah, I've never even heard of the books, but I've loved the series. Buck Rogers couldn't be done now. Aaron Gray's in the 60s and Gil Gerard must be 80ish. Well, obviously not using the same cast and crew. Not using the same cast. But I don't think you could redo it, just because I don't think you can do camp anymore. Not that you can't. I don't think you can do that kind of level of camp. I don't think you just not get away with it, but I just don't think it would make any sense. I don't think audiences would tolerate it. They'd be like, "What, really?" Buck Rogers was way before my time, but occasionally I catch on a reruns channel. It had potential, but was very cheesy in execution. Same with Battlestar Galactica. It was a fantastic idea. It was a brilliant idea. And then you get like Muffy or Moffat or whatever that looks, and you get all the 1970s and 80s creeps in, the camp creeps in, and you're like, oh dear. Yeah, that took a turn, didn't it? Here you go. Here's a question for you. Here is a question. Right. Answers in chat, please. Who would you cast in a remake? Who would you cast as Colt Seavers? If they were going to remake The Fall Guy, which is just one of the best series ever made, who would you cast now as Colt Seavers? I don't actually know who I would cast, because the original actor, whose name I can't remember, just perfect. Is it the same guy that did the Bionic Man? I can't remember. He was perfect as Colt Seavers. Who would be the Fall Guy now, though? They should remake. I know it's not sci-fi, but I don't care. My shot. I'm changing the terms and conditions. Now I'm going to get a load of names that I don't know who they are now. I've just realised that. I've asked that question. I'm going to get a load of people that I don't know any idea who they are. Jeremy Renner says Osric. Space Ham says Jason Statham. Colt Seavers was Lee Majors. Yeah, I thought it was Lee. I couldn't remember if it was Lee Majors or not. Yeah, who would replace Lee Majors? Erin Gray's flight suit was a classic in all the ways. Jason Statham for the Fall Guy. I can't. I'm so out of touch. I kind of know the name, but I can't picture him in my head. Brad Pitt. Oh dear, really? Nah, not Brad Pitt. The bad sheriff dude from Walking Dead. Ooh, maybe. Adamin says, yes, the two things they got wrong in the audio were Dr. Russell and Alan Carter. Alan Carter has to be Australian. A little bit Australian. You have to make Alan Carter a little bit Australian. Koenig has to be American. Helena Russell has to be ever so slightly American. If you can make the woman that, whoever plays Helena Russell, if you can make her accidentally happen to be married to the actor that plays Koenig as well, even better. It'd be great. Right, just do an audio drama for Space 1999, but just get like a load of people who can do impressions of the voices of the original actors. Even better. Yeah. Dr. Russell. No, who's the old guy? The old science dude. He needs to be old and grumpy. Quantum Man says, to recast the Fall Guy, you have to have someone who can do the eyebrow thingy. Yes. Whenever I think of the Fall Guy, if I was to encapsulate the entire run of Fall Guy programs into one visual, it will be that bit at the end of the titles where Colt Seavers is in the bathtub, in like a bathtub thing, and he's there with his cigar, and he's got a rubber ducky, and he just pushes it, and then his eyebrow goes up, and the electric guitar goes at the end. That is the Fall Guy encapsulated in one single shot. And that's what the replacement actor needs to be able to emulate. That specific shot. Barry Morse was the professor. Yes. I should know this because I did my title sequence from Eagle Build and put fake names in there and had to remember who all the actors were. Barry Morse. Yeah, so that's the Fall Guy in one shot. That sort of serious eyebrow lift as he pushes that rubber ducky off into the ends of the bathtub. Wow. Best shot of any syndicated TV series ever filmed in the 1980s. Tariq, Jason Statham does action movies now, but he also did actual funny in Snatch. He can act. Oh, cool. I think I know him. I just got off the top of my head. I just want that pickup truck. I'd never be able to afford to drive it because of the gas mileage, but I want that truck with the big phoenix on the front. Was it ever a thing on the Eagle Phoenix thing on the front? I want to see a proper remake of Knight Rider. Yeah, I watched the remake of Knight Rider. Terrible. Was the Knight Rider 2000, which was garbage. Was there something else? I did try watching the remake of MacGyver they did, and I don't think I lasted more than one episode of that because that wasn't particularly good. Speedy's writing out the lyrics to the Fall Guy theme tune, and I'm desperate to burst into song and sing it because I know the words, but I can't because it's a monetized video, and yeah. But all I can hear now is Lee Majors singing the title song to the Fall Guy. Because here you go. The two best American 1980s TV themes have to be The Fall Guy and The Greatest American Hero. Those are the two best TV themes from that era of TV, that kind of type of TV. Saturday morning shows. The Greatest American Hero and The Fall Guy. Yeah. I'm guessing The Fall Guy was classic Mike Post soundtrack. The Greatest American Hero was written by somebody else, but yeah, apparently the Greatest American Hero theme tune did well in the charts, bizarrely. What about the Greatest American Hero, says Paul D. Tommaso, like I just mentioned. Beyond Hope says, as we're talking classic TV, can we please have a moment's silence for the passing of Terry Jones this past week? Without him, we wouldn't have had lots of UK comedy. Yes. It's a very sad bit of news for the passing of Terry Jones. I shall stand quietly for a moment and command you all to do a moment's silence. There we go, that's a moment's silence. There we go. Weird not having me speak, isn't it? Airwolf had the best theme, Osric. Airwolf had a good theme, but it wasn't Greatest American Hero, because it didn't have 1970s cheese in it. Remake of Airwolf would be sweet. Call of Duty had the best theme. And then he says, sorry, Tour of Duty, says Mordracker. I've no idea what Tour of Duty is, though. Unfortunately, I don't think that's one that we got, anything that we got over here in the UK. Best 1990s theme tune for a TV programme. And I may get this wrong because I can't remember the exact years, but I'm going to guess it was late 90s. I would say it was West Wing. West Wing's got a fantastic theme tune. 1990s, early 2000s. Whenever it was. I don't know. At some point anyway. Now there was a TV series, The West Wing. I love that series. I love that show. Paint It Black was the theme tune to Tour of Duty. I don't know what either of those things are, Paint It Black or Tour of Duty. Street Hawk was fun, but the theme was annoying after the second episode. The theme to Street Hawk was actually performed and recorded by Tangerine Dream. And it kind of terrible. But then again, a lot of Tangerine Dream stuff was pretty terrible. Let's not mince words, Bones. Trust me, I had a copy of the Thief soundtrack, and I liked that. But even then, I saw the limitations. Rolling Stones. I know nothing about the Rolling Stones, so. I'm going to guess Tour of Duty then was perhaps Vietnam era, maybe? It's got Rolling Stones doing the theme. Tangerine Dream, that's the band I need to block then. Well, they do some good stuff. Tiger was good. The Thief soundtrack is interesting. Simple, but interesting. They are a legendary 1970s synth band. Like Kraftwerk without the lyrics. Like Jar without the complicated tunes. Space Behind and I mean, Above and Beyond ended way too early, or as I like to call it, Space Behind and Between. Because it says Ian Barnfield. Space Behind and Between. I only remember that because a Mad magazine had a spoof of it one week, and it was Space Behind and Between. They also had a fantastic spoof of Quantum Leap once. Now, there, see, Quantum Leap. There's a series that, for a long time, you wanted them to start making it again. Quantum Leap. You wanted to know what happened to Sam. You wanted to know what happened to Al and his wife. You wanted to know. But then they got too old, and now it's a case of don't remake. Don't do any more Quantum Leap. Because you can never, ever remake Quantum Leap with anybody other than Scott Bakula and what's his face that played Al? I've forgotten his name. God damn it. You can never have anybody else playing those roles. There are just some roles where the actors play them so well. Dean Stockwell. You could never have Quantum Leap without Dean Stockwell and Scott Bakula. They're too old now. Really, I mean, you could maybe swinge it somehow, but yeah, you could never have that without them two acting it, because it's the actors that made the characters. There are plenty of characters where you could just have a different actor and nobody really care, but no, Quantum Leap, they can't go back and do that. Snowman says, what car would you have, the Kit or the General Lee? I'd have Kit, because better car, less racism, maybe? I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like a nice Plymouth Charger, Dodge Charger, but yeah, car with a almost semi-sentient computer built into it that can do lots. I'll go for that, thank you very much. Also, generally doesn't have a thing that goes on the front, so I'm having that. Farscape, now that was a cliffhanger. Luckily, Fan Art Cry got them to do a mini-series to finish off. Yes, Farscape's fantastic. But yeah, Quantum Leap, you couldn't do anything with Quantum Leap now. You couldn't remake it because it wouldn't be the same. It would be heresy. I'm sure I've not done everything on this now. Remaking, different actors just wouldn't work. It just would not work. Pointless. The 1977 Bandit Trans Am. Oh yeah, I nearly bought. I've told this story before, but for anybody that's never heard it, I nearly bought a Trans Am, a 1977 Trans Am. No. Yes. Or was it Pontiac Firebird? I nearly bought a Pontiac Firebird, 77 Firebird. I used to work in the civil service, which is irrelevant. I used to work in an office next door to which was a petrol station with a small garage. And one day they had, bizarrely, for no reason whatsoever, they had a classic brown 1977 Pontiac Firebird in absolutely beautiful mint restored condition. This is going back to the very early 1990s. It's only 20 years old at this point. And it was in mint condition. It had just been restored a little bit because they're only like 20 years old. And I'm like, wow. And it even had the eagle on the bonnet. I mean, well, the Firebird, in fact. And I was like, a beautiful dark 70s brown colour. And it was gorgeous. And I went around to the garage to get some sandwiches for my lunch. I said, how much is it? Because it said for sale on the window. I was like, how much is that? And they said, it's £5,000. This is early 90s, remember? £5,000. And it's been restored and it's pretty much factory condition. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've been working for about 3 years. I'd left school and been working for about 3 years. And I had money in the bank and I'm like, I can afford this. It could be because I couldn't drive at this point. It could be my first car ever. Could be a 1977 brown Pontiac Firebird, like 35-litre engine with all the volumes coming out of the exhaust pipe. And I was like, I can afford it. So what I did was, I made plans. I thought, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. So I said to the guy, I need to go make some phone calls. When I get back in the office, I'm going to make some phone calls about insurance, because I'd never owned a car before. I need to go and call some insurance companies and find out what I need to do. because I want this car. I need it in my life. I need this car to live. So I went to the office and I found various insurance companies, and the cheapest quote I got for insurance, bearing in mind I was 21, 22, I think. I was 22 years old. Never had a car before, never had insurance before. The cheapest offer, the conversation went like, hello, yes, I'd like to inquire how much it costs to insure a car. Okay, what colour is the car? Was the first thing they asked in those days. I said, it's brown. And they said, oh, good, that's good, because browns are the cheapest cars to insure, because nobody ever steals brown cars. I said, brilliant, thank you, fantastic. What car is it? So he said, how old are you? I'm 21, 22. Have you owned a car before? No. Have you got a driving licence? Yes. Have you passed your test? Not yet. Okay, brilliant, fine. What car is it? And they said it's a however many litre 1977 Pontiac Firebird, blah, blah, blah. And they said, how much is it going to cost to buy? And I said, the car is £5,000. They want £5,000 cash. And the guy said, oh, it's a steal. They're worth more than that. It'd be brilliant. Get that car. It's a steal. They're worth about 8 or 9 grand at the time. I said, that is my plan. This is why I want to buy it today. I have the money. I want it now. No thought of how I'd actually get it home because I couldn't drive. They said, let me run it through the system for you. And he went away and he came back, because remember it's pre-computers. He came back and said, right, the insurance cost for your £5,000 Pontiac Firebird 1977 in brown is £5,000. That was the cheapest quote. I didn't own that Pontiac Firebird. £5,000 because I was a brand new driver and it was a 35-litre engine or something stupid. And it was like, yeah, my dream fell apart at that point. I never owned that car. However, later in life, I did get to work on, when I was doing the detailing stuff, I did get to work on a 77, might be another Firebird actually. Formula something 1977 Firebird, I think it was. I can't remember now. It's all blanked away, that part of my life. And that was fantastic. And it actually had a catalytic converter because it was almost in showroom condition. It had been bought in 1977. Formula, what was it now? Formula something or other. Blue it was. Pontiac Firebird. It had been bought in 1977. It had 40 miles on the clock. And it had been put into storage by the owner. And then shipped over from the States about 7 or 8 years ago. And it had been literally driven for 40 miles. And this thing was amazing. We had to do some repairs to the vinyl seats and give it a bit of a polish because it was a bit scruffy. It had been in storage for 40 years. And I pulled down the sun visor in the passenger seat and it said it had information about the catalytic converter. I'm like, really? In a 1970s muscle car, the catalytic converter? Wow, I didn't know that. It's got white vinyl seats. Why do I have a catalytic converter? I was quite impressed. Such cars had such things. When Bakula was reunited with Al in Star Trek, Scott should have walked in the room and gone, oh boy. I would love to find an old 70s Datsun to fix up, says Bryce. I'd love to find an old Datsun, like a Sunny or a Cherry or something, Nissan Cherry. Yeah, some old Japanese cars in the 70s would be great fun to drive around. The vehicle I wanted as a kid was Walker Texas Ranger's Dodge Ram. Fox, that would have been a babe magnet, says Beyond Hope, but you'd never have been able to take them out as the fuel and insurance would have killed you. Well, yeah, as I say, the insurance was fine. I never got it in the end. Insurance cost the same as the car. I need a remake of Cannonball Run with Fox as Captain Chaos and Chris instead of Burt Reynolds. No, I'd be the doctor in the back saying he's got cysts of the lungs. Adam Minster says Cannonball Run, but Fox and Chris are in an Austin Princess. I like it, but only if we can put Paul in an Allegro. Who else can we have? Ted and Paul in an Allegro. Now I need to blow my nose. Time me on 22. 20 to 5. May I get this guy done in an hour, do you think? Ooh, let's drill his barrel. Gentlemen, drill your barrels. My friend actually had an Allegro. I can't believe this. I left school in 1990. And we all, I didn't learn to drive till about 1995 or so. I had no reason to learn to drive at that point. So I didn't learn to drive. My friends went to university and stuff, and so some of them had cars. One of my friends, his first car was an Allegro, and then he upgraded it. After a little while, upgraded it to an Austin Maestro. Oh God, I don't know which was worse, the Allegro or the Maestro. It was terrible. They were both brown. Everything inside was brown, and the brown had accent colours in brown. Big enough. Got some big boy barrels on these Chaos bolters. 20-6 Fox. Yep. Can I get this guy barrel drilled and glued together in 20 minutes? Let's find out. In today's build the crap out of it. It's the alarm, run the alarm, you're all going to die. I'm taking a risk here with a big drilly bit. We'll see how this comes out. And go one of two ways. But it is a death guard, so if I mess up the barrel, I can always say it's just death guard knackeredness. See, there's always a way out. King of the weasels, me. Or I could just drill it out almost perfectly. Oh, look at that. Yo, beauty. Yo, beauty. I had a Maestro. It was a lump of poo on wheels. Says Phil Lewis. Yeah, for some reason, I've always had a liking for old cars. Old crappy cars. Just because, I don't know. Especially like somebody said earlier, the old Nissans and Datsuns. There's something about them. A certain likability. I know they'd be terrible. I know they'd be absolute garbage. But I'm the guy who had an old Series 3 Land Rover, and it was my favourite car in the world, even though it was a tin box with no heating. And you had to scrape the ice off the inside of the windscreen as well as the outside. But you know what? I loved it, because it was old and mechanical. I find modern cars just boring and uninteresting. Whereas old cars, even purely simply because the steering wheel. Modern car, it's a squishy foam thing that just is squishy and boring. I'm just going to widen this barrel a bit to make it look a bit more balanced. Old cars, they had them solid plastic shiny steering wheels with the grippy bits on the back. Oh, I love that. I love that feel of the old steering wheels. So when I had my Land Rover with its bus, with the steering wheel you'd find on a bus, I thought it was brilliant. Right, so we draw the barrel out. How's that for fast? I got it almost spot on, but a little bit of touch up with the knife blade, and then the tiniest amount of extra thin, just to smooth off my scrapey. In through the flash vents, round the edge, and there we have spot on, perfectly drilled out blade that you can't see. A barrel because it's too far away, but yeah, not bad. Always remember, you're drilling a barrel. If it's not quite in the centre, don't panic. Carve out the other side with your knife blade and then smooth it off with a little bit of extra thin. Right, let's get this dude built and we're done. So this should be fairly straightforward. And I guess it's that and that. Oh yeah, we can have this. We can have this. Old steering wheels. If the car crash didn't kill you, the wheel would just crush your ribs into your spine. But you seem to forget the point here that with old cars, they were made of tin and hopes and prayers. So the crash would kill you. The steering wheel wouldn't kill you because you'd already be dead by that point. I remember seeing... I'll never forget, because I had my Series 3 Land Rover, which was basically aluminium box. And bear in mind, it's a big old Land Rover. And I remember seeing one when I went to take mine in for some work. And the whole front of it was crushed. Like, the whole front bonnet. And there was like a big bit in the middle like that. And I says to the mechanic, I says, what the hell happened to that? Did he drive it into a tree or something? And he said, no, he hit a dog. Just a dog. He was doing 30 miles an hour and he hit a dog. Somehow, and the dog must have been really tall. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, this is an old Land Rover. You hit a blade of grass and the whole thing falls apart. I'm like, wow, I'm driving around this tin box of death. But you know what? I still loved it. Didn't care. Didn't care. You drill the barrel without using a Dremel? How strange! Yes, Chris at Gross Models likes his high power drills. I think that was more just that was what Chris had to hand at the time. I think it was more also the case that Chris probably wasn't going to drill the barrel out till everybody told him to drill the barrel out. And he's like, okay. He was still learning at that point. He was learning his Warhammers. So I don't know what old cards. I think it's just because they are simple and mechanical, and I'm old, and I have a liking of old, simple, mechanical things. They just appeal to me more. Like, I know the seats would be vinyl, and if I sat in it on a hot summer's day with shorts on, I'd take all the skin off my legs because I weld myself to the seat. You know, I know that. I know that. It's understood and accepted. This guy is waving his weapon around, if it were. Like there to say. But yeah, old Datsuns and things. Don't know why, like 70s. There's a certain appeal, the look to them. They're nice and simple. They've got little tiny wheels. You'd probably die if you went anywhere in it. But my dream car of all time, apart from a Land Rover Series 3, which I have owned, and which if I ever make it rich, one day I will own more. My dream car of all time that I will one day have if I get rich is a factory restored, as in it's restored completely to what it would have been like off the factory floor, apart from a modern engine. Modern engine would be required. Would be a Mark III Cortina. It would be a Mark III Cortina. I've got to slot that over. Oh, I've got to slot the arm over the horn like that. I like that. Yeah, Mark III Cortina GLX 2000, or whatever it was. GX 2000, GL 2000. I can't remember now. That would be a dream car. In gold, I think. Gold with the brown vinyl roof, but drop a modern engine in it just for reliability's sake. I love the old car. I don't want the old car lifestyle. As in, getting halfway down the M6 and suddenly finding I can't go any further down the M6. Yeah. Snowman, I'm off to bed. I was up all night watching wrestling. Somebody has to, I suppose. Thanks for coming in, Snowman. Appreciate your visitations. Most kind of you. Right, so I've got that go. We can glue this dude on. Dude, I've just done another guy in like an hour. How's that even possible? And I didn't shut up to do it. I carried on talking and waffling, and yet I still did another guy. I don't understand the physics behind that. That contradicts something. Oh, arse. I can talk fast and get no work done, or I can talk fast and get work done. Doesn't pass. I can't pass that. Where are we? There we are. There's the camera. Yes, if I suddenly won millions in the lottery, I'd be like, phone up a garage and say, right, source for me a Mark III Cortina in gold with the brown vinyl roof. And what I need you to do is, just source for me a Mark III Cortina. Restore the bodywork to factory condition. Replace the engine with a modern engine, so it's not rubbish. And then paint it gold with some funky trim, funky 70s style Cortina trim. That kind of bronze colour. It's more of a bronze colour, isn't it? Cortina bronze colour. And then give it a brown vinyl roof. Yeah. The proper Coke bottle curves. My dad had an ex-Army Series 3. It was so fun to drive. The steering wheel had 30 degrees of rotation before the front wheels decided to turn as well. My old Series 3, for about the first year I drove it, my arms were in constant pain because I had to develop extra muscles in my arm to turn the wheel, because it was like no power steering. It's 2.25 ton vehicle, no power steering. I need to turn the wheel 45 times. I basically got a tennis elbow. I had to grow extra bones in my arms. And to this day, whenever I change gear in any car, my leg, I don't do this with my leg. You know, like people have got the clutch and they have the foot on the clutch pedal and they just do that with their foot on the pedal. I don't. I have my foot on the pedal like that, and I use my whole leg. My whole leg goes up and down like that when I change gear, because I'm used to doing it in the Land Rover with my whole. Imagine that's the pedal and that's my leg. People do it with their foot nowadays. I use my whole leg. My whole leg does it. I can't not do it. Also, would that have had the full 240 volts as well, beyond hope? Old cars had a full rigid frame, making the vehicle a lot stronger than the easy to crush things we have now. Try hitting a deer doing 50 plus in a new vehicle. Ouch, yes. I drive an old MG, so I know what you mean. My mate's got a GT6 that he's been doing up for like the last 20 years. Oh, bless him. Would like an original 1980s Austin Mini Metro or Peugeot 309. Have a strange liking for both of them. I'd love an old Volkswagen, a proper old vintage Volkswagen Beetle. I don't know why. I'd love an old Citroen 2CV. Again, I don't know why. They're terrible, but I'd love one. But got to be in factory condition though. One of the first run Kingswood would suit you, Fox. What's the Kingswood? I don't know what that is. Is that a Cortina? My first car was a 1987 Monte Carlo LS with IROC rims. Space Hamster, I want a DeLorean. I know it's garbage car, but I don't care. We actually had a customer once when we were doing detailing, came to us and he said, I've got a DeLorean, but I want it detailed. And this thing was mint. It was absolutely mint. And we were like, we can't. All we can do is the interior and put wax on it. And he said, can't you machine polish it? And we said, machine polishing is supposed to get scratches and scuffs and marks out. He went, yeah. I said, your entire exterior of the car is brushed aluminium. It has a scuffed and scraped mark. That's what it's supposed to look like. We can't machine polish it. We'd remove the texture it's supposed to have. It's not supposed to be smooth. It's not supposed to look like that. It's supposed to have a brushed aluminium. That's the whole point. And he went, oh, I didn't realise that. I said, yeah, your car's not scruffy. It's actually perfect. We can't machine polish a car that doesn't have paint on it. We said, you do realise machine polishing is polishing the paint and the finish, the lacquer, not polishing the metal. He couldn't quite get that we weren't going to machine polish bare metal. It was weird. Anyway, the weirdest thing was having carpet on the dashboard. That was really weird. Watch Ford Kingswood. Watch Kingswood Country, and you'll know what it is. I shall do that. Just get a Renault or a Renault, and you've got most of the DeLorean. All you need is some cheap steel for the panels. Apparently, you can still get a DeLorean with all the issues corrected in it. There is a company in America that makes DeLoreans. They bought all the... basically, when DeLorean went under, they had a load of parts and body shells and all the bits, pressed steel, made. All the stainless steel, whatever it was, pressed and made. It was all done. It'd all been taken care of. They just had them sitting around. So this company bought them. They're still going. And they basically make new DeLoreans using the old bodies that are still available, but they stick them on, like, I think it's an electric one as well now, on modern engines and modern chassis and stuff, but it is the original bodies and parts. So you can still buy a brand new DeLorean. They still make them. Obviously not forever, because they'll run out eventually. They may have run out, I don't know. It says, doesn't that company only make replacement parts? It may well be they've used up all their body panels now. My understanding was that they bought all the old pressings that were made before the company went bust. I don't think they bought the equipment to press the steel. I think they bought the body shells that had been made. Not sure about the voltage, but it's glad the radio connections in the rear section, says Beyond Hope. Before I bought my Series 3, I nearly bought a lightweight, which was the small, slim 88 small wheelbase. And that was the proper square one. And that had 2 fuel tanks, one under each seat, one of the passenger seat, one of the driver's seat. And that had a 240 volt system, I think, or 12 volt, whichever the one that's not normal car voltage. I didn't get it in the end, though. Let's have a look. Beyond Hope says, heresy? Oh, that's about getting a Renault, and you've got most of the DeLorean. Yeah. Right, well, anyway, that's 17:55. With 5 minutes to go, I've finished him. Look. Amazing. The only thing I've got to do is drill out his barrel, because I forgot to do that. I'll do that later when the glue's fully cured. So I've got to drill his barrel out. I've got 2 more of those to make. I've got to make a fetid bloatdrome and the Lord Contagion. So I'll probably carry on with these next week. I won't do any more now on these. I'll crack on with the next 2 next week. And that's going to do for them. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, tonight at 8 PM of the GMTs is Chris over at Gross Models. His live stream starts. He's doing his Warhamster, and I've forgotten what he's doing. I think he's still doing his little tiny orc bombers for the Aeronautica Imperialis. He's still doing those. So go and watch, go and join Chris at 8 p.m. I'm going to hopefully be in the chat if I'm not making dinner at the time. But yeah, go and watch that, 8 p.m. And I will be back, of course, tomorrow, Monday, or the eModels live stream. I wasn't there last week because Mama Fox was poorly sick, but this week I'm back now, so I'm back tomorrow. And this week, hopefully, last week I left you and said I was going to do the X-Wing part work videos and get them all done Monday, Tuesday last week. Unfortunately, because Mama Fox was sick, I didn't get any time at the bench last week at all. So that all went to pot, basically. So I haven't done that. So this week, hopefully, fingers crossed, Monday, Tuesday, I'm going to be filming all the as yet not done episodes of the X-Wing build. And then we'll crack on with some other stuff. So, yes. Anyway, yes, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, of course, a very, very quick shout out. If you want to help support this channel, please, please do. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and make sure to click all. Liking is vital. It means that the channels you love, their videos get listed better in search results, and they have a better chance of, making a living off the video. So do remember to click on like, not just on my videos, but anybody's videos whose content you like. Always hit like, always subscribe, and always hit the notification bell. Of course, you can, of course, surprise me. No, not surprise me. You can surprise me if you want. You can support me on Patreon, patreon.com/modelmakinguru. The address is down there and it's in the description below the video if you want to directly help support this channel and keep it going, because this is what I do for a living and I depend on my patrons for my income to pay the bills and get food on the table. But of course you can, if you want to, just support me in other ways. I do have an Amazon store which is in the description below the video, or you can go get your Games Workshop stuff from Goblin Gaming, again description below the video. I make a little bit of income off that affiliate link for Goblin Gaming, so use the link that's down there in the description. And of course the Amazon store, US and UK. If you need to buy something on Amazon, go and check out the links below. Go there first. If it's model making, it's probably something I've already got in stock. If you order it from there, it doesn't cost you any more money, but I make a little bit of income that way, so it does help me out massively. If there's something you want and it's not in my Amazon store, just give me a shout. Take me 5 seconds to add it. So there you go. But that's going to do it. So thank you very much for watching. I need to make sure my button still works. Let me test my buttons.
Slap it on.
Yes, buttons still work. So yeah, take care of yourselves. I will see you all tomorrow or in chat later on for Chris's stream. But until then, I shall say, go make something awesome like these little fellows. Camera's in the wrong place today. Go make something awesome. Go be awesome. And until next time, I shall say,
Slap it on.
And also, adios amoebas, because of course I will. Chabella. There's the camera. I moved the camera. I don't know where it is. Bye.